Whether the team is giving us the highest of highs or the bluest of blues, we'll cover it all here on Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, I've had the opportunity this week to kind of just sit back and kind of take everything in. Normally I'm not a big, outside noise guy. Don't really care what all the talking heads and pundits are saying. Not really checking for the power rankings necessarily. And part of that is because usually we suck. So I don't really care to see the power rankings. But, when you're playing better football, you're kind of, you're interested. Okay, I told you I've taken a strong liking to Ron Rivera's interesting versus important narrative. And so all of that stuff is interesting. None of it is important. What anybody says isn't important. What anybody thinks of us or thinks of our long-term prospects isn't important. What anybody has us ranked in their power rankings isn't important. It's interesting. All of it is interesting. And I had a chance this week to just take in a bunch of interesting information. And so what I've gathered and what the consensus seems to be is that nobody actually has a true handle on what the Commanders are at this point. And I think a lot of it stems from the fact that Taylor Heinicke is the quarterback. And if it was Carson Wentz, they'd probably feel the same exact way. I mean, I think that's the problem with a lot of people and the move that was made this offseason is because a lot of people felt like the needle wasn't going to move either way. So why not just build around Taylor Heinicke and then try to upgrade the quarterback position at a later date and time? Fine. Or you could have gone the same exact route, draft Sam Howell, play him instead. The season, I don't think, goes the way that it's gone to this point. But again, everyone's got their own narrative on how things should or shouldn't have gone. It is what it is. And we are where we are. And everyone seems to, think that this team, if you're really locked into what this team has been doing this season, if you're more of a defensive guy, then you're more inclined to be like, hey, don't sleep on the Commanders. They've got a shot. They play defense. They run the football. We saw them on Monday night against the Eagles. Most people aren't watching us on a weekly basis. They saw us on primetime twice. One time we looked like ass against the Chicago Bears. The other time we're upsetting the previously undefeated Philadelphia Eagles. We're running the hell out of the football. We're making timely plays, and we're forcing turnovers. And so you look like a totally different team that casts a different light on you. For some, for others, lucky, one off. They're still not all that great. Still got Taylor Heinicke at quarterback. And so there's the perception of, they can play some defense, dominant defensive line. They're starting to create turnovers. They're running the football. They're establishing an identity. They've got some talent on the offensive side of the football. Yeah, it's Taylor Heinicke, and I'm not quite sure what that actually means, but I do think this team has a chance. There's that narrative and perspective. Then there's the, hey, what are we talking about here? Yep, the defense playing better, run game so-so. They still got Taylor Heinicke at quarterback. What are we talking about here? Okay. At best, they're going to win 9 games. That's the best they could possibly do at this point. Then there's that narrative, right? And so I think there are a lot of people that really don't know what to make of this team. And it's really because of the quarterback position, to be honest with you. And they're not wrong in thinking that. We talk about how this is a quarterback-driven league. You don't have a quarterback, you don't have a chance, so forth and so forth. We could go on and on and on about that. We've talked about it. I've talked about that so many times. But if you're basing everything that you see with this team off of the strength of Taylor Heinicke being the starting quarterback moving forward, then I think that you're being a bit dismissive of what Washington is doing. And that's okay. But it doesn't change the fact that this team, and again, if this were a normal year in the NFC where the Rams were good with Matthew Stafford, where the Bucks were, clicking on all cylinders with Tom Brady, with the Packers looking like they're heading towards the number 1 seed and 13 wins with Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson still in Seattle slinging it around. If this were a normal year in the NFC, then yeah, Taylor Heineke, are you kidding me? He can't compete with the likes of Rodgers, Brady, Wilson, Stafford and company. Are you crazy? That's not the case this year. That's why, to me, it's a bit dismissive. You can easily get lost in the sea of quarterbacks in the AFC. Allen, Mahomes, Herbert, Burrow. Tua's playing at a extremely high level. Jackson. You could get lost in the sea of quarterbacks out in the AFC. Totally get it. I understand. That's why we dismiss the Titans, because we're like, there's no way Ryan Tannehill, if he gets into a battle, in a shootout, there's no way he's out dueling, and then you just fill in the blank with whatever quarterback you'd like in the AFC. Burrow, Mahomes, hell, even Herbert, even though I think their team collectively, the Titans team collectively, is better than that because they're better coached than that of the Chargers. But Jackson, and you go on and on and on, so forth and so forth and so forth. You just fill in the blank. That's not the case in the NFC. Why can't Taylor Heineke go on the road and beat the Eagles? Oh, I forgot he's already done that. Why can't he go on the road and beat San Francisco? He'll have a chance to do that later on this season if he's still the quarterback, if things are still the way that they are right now. Why can't he go on the road and beat Dallas? Why can't he go on the road and beat fill in the blank? There's no dominant team. So I think it's a bit dismissive, but I did see that in one power ranking, we were 17th, which is okay. I think we're a little bit higher than that. I saw, and that was the Bleacher Report power ranking. In the ESPN power ranking, we were as high as 13, which I think is a bit high. But I think we're somewhere in the middle of that. 13 is a little bit too high. 17, I think, is a bit too low. 15 is probably where we belong. Like, when we were 17th, I was like, okay, well, who's in front of us? Because 17 is a bit much. New England is not better than us. Give me a break. The Patriots aren't better than us. They won a game 10-3 on a punt return. Their offense stinks. Their defense is good. And Belichick, you get points for Bill Belichick being your head coach. But that offense is absolutely anemic. I'm not telling you that our offense features world beaters, okay? But we're better than the Patriots on offense. That's for sure. We're better than the Patriots. If we played the Patriots right now, neutral site, we'd beat them. We play the Patriots in Foxborough right now, we'd beat them. Just so you know, we're a better road team right now than we are a home team. We're 4-2 on the road. We're 2-3 at home. That shit has to change. If we plan on playing bonus football, if we want a ticket to the dance, we got to start protecting the house. I know that more likely than not, if we do play bonus football, it helps that we're playing well on the road because that's where we're going to be. We're not going to be playing any home games. But at some point, you got to start taking care of business at the crib. That's embarrassing that you're better on the road than you are at home. And I think some of that, may have been the opponents. I don't think that's what it is at all. I just think we haven't played our best football at home this season. Some of that may be indicative of not having a true home field advantage. You go on the road, it's an us versus them and us versus the world mentality. You expect that on the road. You don't expect to have to go silent count at home, right? There may be a little bit of that mixed in, but at the end of the day, we got to start winning ball games at the crib. You want to create an environment that's tough for other teams to come and play in? Start winning games at the house. Start winning games at FedEx Field. Yes, it's a dump, but as I've always said, it's our dump. Protect it. Make sure dudes wipe their feet. Take off their shoes and wipe their feet when they step in our house. this season is going to be really interesting. We've got what are we? 6 of 5. We've got 6 games left. 6 games to prove that this team is capable of not just being some token team that's looking to slide in at the back end of the postseason. I really feel like I remember 2020 very vividly. And a lot of what was being said in 2020 was, oh, it doesn't matter if we make the playoffs. We're just going to get there and get slaughtered. I'd much rather have the draft capital, the draft pick, the much higher draft pick. And to those people, I would always respond, the experience is invaluable for a young football team, which we were then and we're still young now, which is actually fun. It's fun to be young. It's fun to be young. At some point, you got to grow up. But it's fun to be young because there are no expectations when you're young, especially when you don't have a quarterback. But at some point, you're like, okay, enough of that. I don't want to hear about being young anymore. Don't want to see the mistakes. Don't want to have losses chalked up to being young and having to learn. Now we need to start winning some football games. I think that's where a lot of the fan base is right now. But in 2020, everything was young, fresh, and new. And a lot of fans didn't want to make the playoffs. It didn't make sense to them because we weren't going to do anything once we got there. It was a token appearance, like Homer Simpson's granddad or Homer Simpson's dad, right? You've seen the meme. In the bar, take his hat off, take his coat off, turn in a circle, pick up coat, pick up hat, walk out the door. Or is it just his hat? I think he just takes his hat off, puts it up on the coat hanger, walks in a circle, takes hat off, puts it back on his head, walks out. That's what the playoff appearance was going to be. And it was. You weren't wrong. You weren't wrong for feeling that way. But my thing was the experience is invaluable. Ask anybody who's played playoff football. It's different. The intensity is different. Once you get a taste, you're addicted. You want more. That's what I wanted for that team. This year, I don't get that feeling this year. That if we make it, we're just going to be a token team that gets in and we're going to get smoked no matter who we play in the first round. Not one single division winner scares me. Except the 49ers, but we play them. I'll have a sense. If they cook us in December, then I want no parts of them in January. They're the one team that scares me. They're the one team that scares me right now in the NFC, if we're being honest. But again, we get to measure ourselves against them later on down the line. So we'll see if they are, in fact, who we think they are. We'll get to find out firsthand. We don't have to guess or wonder. We'll get to see it firsthand at their place. So if we have to go back there, we'll be prepared. Okay? So, there are some fans in this fan base that still think, oh, this offense is terrible and, we suck and I don't know what you guys are talking about. If that's your take, fine. I'm not going to look to convince you. All I can say to you is, have you not been watching the team? And this is another thing to those who say the offense sucks. You do understand that just a month ago, we had pronounced the season dead, or a month and a half ago. We were 1-4. This season was over. I had gotten out of the whip. A lot of you had quit on the season. A lot of you were asking me draft questions at 1-4 after the loss to the Titans. How much has changed since then? Essentially, what I'm trying to get at is that things change, things evolve. This offense has a chance to evolve and grow. The offensive line has been stabilized. Logan Thomas is getting healthier. Jahan Dotson is back. This offense has a chance to get better. The red zone offense has a chance to be more efficient. They don't have to stay stagnant. They don't have to stay where they are right now. We don't have to eke and claw our way to 17 to 20 points every week. That number can increase. That's allowed to happen. Ron Rivera coached teams get better as the season wears on. That's why we kept talking about just get off to a slightly faster start. You don't even have to be great at the beginning of the season. Just get off to a faster start. They still didn't do it. And look where we are now. They just started playing better sooner. They didn't wait until week 12 to try to win 4 games in a row. Or they didn't wait till week 10 to try to reel off 4 in a row. They won 3 in a row when we looked like we were dead back in week 5. They started winning in week 6. Now you look up 5 out of 6 and you're 6-5. This offense can get better. We've got the weapons. It's not like we're void of talent. This isn't 2020. All right. Isaiah Wright isn't starting at receiver for us. We're not begging Steven Sims Jr. to step up and be a number 2 option anymore. We're not relying on Dontrell Inman in the red zone anymore. This team has talent. It can get better. Now, you can say, hey, it's still Taylor Heineke and it's still Scott Turner. Touche. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. I'm just telling you all the ingredients are there. All the ingredients are there for this thing to turn out to be delicious. You may not trust the cooks, but the ingredients are there. It's one thing when you don't have the ingredients. It's another thing when you have the ingredients and you just don't trust the chef. But the chef may actually get better with the ingredients. If he keeps cooking over and over again, he gets better. We'll see. But I find it interesting that there is no prevailing thought right now on the Commanders. They're kind of just there. No one really wants to believe because of the quarterback situation. Everyone wants to kind of just dismiss the defense, what they're doing, this continuity and this team kind of coming together and gelling at the right time. They want to dismiss that. They want to dismiss the fact that we're running the football effectively. They want to dismiss the fact that we're now creating turnovers. They want to dismiss the fact that this team has a chance to compete because they look at the quarterback position and they say, that's not enough. To that, I say, we'll see. Stay tuned. Let's get to in other news. So I don't think I did a really good job yesterday on yesterday's episode of laying out the roster situation because so much transpired over the last 72 hours that some things might have gotten lost in the shuffle. I may have mentioned it in passing, but we didn't spend enough time on each individual piece of information like we probably should have. So I want to double back and I want to, address each and every single thing. So we talked about Heineke getting the nod. We talked about Chase Young being activated and what that means. We spent time on those 2 particular items. And then I think we kind of just glossed over everything else and moved on. I want to give everything its proper respect and time. And so J.D. McKissic, we never really talked about that. That kind of slid under the radar. It happened close to game day, and we just acknowledged it. We saw it. It happened on like a Saturday where he's put on IR. So there was no real mention of it. We won the football game, so we really were focused on the game. We really didn't talk about J.D. McKissic being out for the remainder of the season as he was placed on IR. Ron talked about his injury situation. What did I tell you guys? I like to do this, right? When I'm right about something. I'm wrong too all the time. And I always tell you, I'll be the first to tell you when I'm wrong. But if I'm right, I'm going to be the first to tell you that I'm right. What did I tell you guys like 3 weeks ago? When he first when he showed up, remember, we didn't know. It's not like J.D. McKissic, like he did last year against the Seahawks on a Monday night. It's not like he laid motionless on the field and we're holding our collective breath, hoping that J.D. McKissic is okay like last year, where we could actually see that he was hurt. He finished the game against the Colts. We didn't know that he was injured. Then we get the injury report the next week that he's got a neck, hasn't practiced all week, and he's out. And we didn't hear, normally when a guy gets injured, we get updates. He's on the side field. There's something that lets us know, hey, this guy's progressing. Don't know exactly when he'll be back, but he's moving in the right direction. We heard nothing. It was crickets on J.D. McKissic. I said, guys, this isn't good. I'm telling you, this has season-ending injury written all over it. And I said, I wouldn't be shocked if this is something that could lead to career-threatening. We start talking about necks, I get nervous. I've told you guys this already. Chris Samuel had his career. Chris Samuels, not to be confused with Curtis Samuel, Chris Samuels had his career ended with stenosis of the spine with his neck. Like anytime we start talking about the neck, I get nervous. This is the second year in a row J.D. McKissic has had his season prematurely ended with a neck injury. That's strike 2. 3 strikes and you're out. I'm worried about him, but he's done for the season. So we're going to need these other backs to step up. Curtis Samuel, I think, has to become a bigger fixture in the run game now to offset the loss of J.D. McKissic. There are touches, there are snaps that now someone else has to take. And, you know, with the running back position being what it is, obviously Antonio Gibson can fill in that role. He can catch it out of the backfield. He's actually improved in pass protection. There's a clip going around socials of him picking up the blitz on one play, and he did it beautifully. Knocked the guy on the ground, kind of stood over him, looked at him like, really, you tried. You tried. So he's getting better in that regard because JD was really our best pass protector. But, you know, Antonio Gibson is coming along. But there's still some touches. There's still some opportunities that are now kind of left there for someone to pick up. I would like that to be Curtis Samuel every week. I would like him to touch it 3 to 4 times out of the backfield. I think he had 2 carries, 1 for a touchdown against the Houston Texans. I'd like to see us have him line up in the backfield and throw it to him too. Like, you don't have to just give it to Curtis Samuel out of the backfield. You can throw it to him as well. You get him isolated one-on-one. There was a play early in the Texas game, went back and watched, and they've got the little, dual backfield with Heineke and Gunn, running back on one side, Curtis Samuel on the other side, and Samuel runs up the field and up the sideline, and he's got one-on-one coverage. And I'm like, hey, throw him the football. Like, that's not a bad look. You get one-on-one isolated away from everybody else, give Curtis an opportunity. So I think that's something that will come, as we continue to get him more opportunities. You get more wrinkles. You get to put more things in. You give teams a little bit of eye candy on film. This is what they expect when they see him in this formation, and then you give them something different. So we'll see if that emerges. But JD's done for the season. There was someone in the comment section of one of these videos, I can't remember if it was the video Sunday or the video yesterday, that said, and look, we'll be even better when JD comes back. And I'm like, clearly he doesn't know. So that's my fault. If he doesn't know, that means I didn't do a good enough job of conveying that information. So JD McKissic is done for the season. Most of you already knew that. Some of you, maybe not. Wes Schweitzer, I think I mentioned this, but again, I think I mentioned this in passing. He's eligible to come off of IR. Ron has said that they're going to continue to work with him, get him ready. I like the fact that we're getting the depth that we need on the offensive line. Okay, so now you've got Wes and Sadiq ready. Cornelius Lucas is going back to the bench where he belongs. And so now you've got a full complement of offensive linemen. Like, I'm telling you, this shit is starting to come together at the right time. You've got a full complement of offensive linemen here shortly when Wes is fully back. You're going to have a full complement of wide receivers. We're down a tight end with Amani Rodgers. That's another guy that we'll talk about here in a second. Don't want to gloss over that because that was another piece of information that was thrown out there over the weekend that was easy to miss. But this team is coming together and they're getting healthy, and we still haven't had our bye week yet. Let's knock on a little bit of wood just to make sure that we keep the good juju and the good vibes going. But if we can continue to keep these guys relatively healthy and then get the bye week, we'll be in a great spot to kind of finish up this season, But Wes Schweitzer back off of IR. Now he's going to start practicing, and they're going to try to get him back up to speed. So that's great news. I just mentioned Amani Rodgers placed on IR with a knee injury. I believe he's placed on IR with the designation to still return. Don't quote me on that. I don't think his season is done, but that's a minor blow. He was a guy that I can't speak for you guys, so I won't. I was getting excited about. He was getting better as a blocker. We know that he was the most athletically gifted tight end that we have on the team, and it's not even close. And every time he touched it, you just felt like a big play could happen because he runs a 4.5. He touches it. He's outrunning guys that don't know that this guy is as fast as he is. Then he gets it and he's running down the sideline and they're like, oh shit, this guy's super fast. Is he a receiver? No, he's a tight end. So that sucks that he's no longer a part of the picture right now. Hopefully we'll get him back down the road. But, you know, when one door closes, another door opens. Cole Turner is going to get the opportunity. They lauded and praised this guy for all of the things that he could bring to the table. Well, let's see it. We've only really gotten a small glimpse of it in the Chicago game when he caught a seam ball and he climbed the ladder and went and got it. And you said, hey, that's the shit that they were telling us about. Okay, cool. That was a little sliver. I need the whole thing. I need to see it. So we'll see what he does. He's going to have to get better as a blocker. I think Rodgers had overtaken him as a blocker. So he's going to need to get up to speed because we run a lot of two tight end sets where you got one guy as the wing and the other guy comes in motion. And as you snap the ball, that guy in motion goes into the hole and he serves as the first lead blocker. And then you get the next guy, the next tight end pulling around and he goes up into the hole and he's the guy that's supposed to spring it for the running back as we run counter plays. So we're going to need Cole Turner to block. We're going to need him to catch the football. We'll see if he can step into that role that's now vacated by Amani Rodgers and his injury. Cole Holcomb. I think he has a chance to play this week. We'll obviously find out tomorrow. They go to practice. Can we just get a limited out of Cole? I'm like, just tell me he practiced with his positional group. You know, that he was a part of the individual drills. They went team. He went off to the side of the side field. Okay. We're making progress. Okay. Can we at least get that this week? If not, if you get to Wednesday and he stretches and then he's off to the side field and he's still a DNP on Wednesday, again, that's not the end of the world, but that's not a good sign. We need a limited tomorrow from Cole if we're hoping that he's back. Because I think we've all seen enough of John Bostic, right? Like I told you, he doesn't have to get off my field. I mean, he doesn't have to get off the roster, right? I just need him out of my lineup and I need him off my field. We had this discussion on Sunday. After that game where he's chasing down Brandon Cooks. And again, that's not his fault. You know, coverage dictates that that's the straw that he drew. You just don't like him drawing that straw, okay? Just like the week before, Miles saying, look, now that's different. That's a running back. As a linebacker, I need you to be able to run down that running back. And he was busting his ass and running as hard as he could, physically, as hard as he could. And he barely got a piece of the back of his jersey to push him out of bounds, or else he was turning that corner on John's ass. But, you know, it wasn't the Brandon Cooks, 35-yard catch and run that did it for me. I already told you it was the 4th and 4 Davis Mills run where, as my guy Derek B eloquently put it, he was playing a mean game of red light, green light. Davis Mills stops, John stops. He starts to move a little bit. John is like, I should go. Then he starts to run, and John goes after him, and then he gives him a little hezzy, and John freezes. Red light, green light. Red light. And then he gets the first down. And I'm like, John, you bum. That's your move, though. Jared Goff did it to him. We see it all the time with this dude, man. He kills me. Anyway. So we'll see what happens with Cole Holcomb. But another guy that I think I'm on pins and needles. I can't speak for anyone. Last week, I was kind of anxious on Gibby, and then right after the game, I saw somewhere that he was fine. Like, it wasn't a big deal. And clearly, it's not a big deal. He's still returning kickoffs. He's still the same Gibby. There was nothing wrong with him. He was fine. I was a little nervous after the Eagles game, but that was put to bed quickly. We cannot say the same thing for Benjamin St-Juste. I am on pins and needles waiting for the injury report tomorrow, because if he doesn't practice tomorrow, we could be in some trouble. And again, I don't know if it manifests itself against the Falcons. They're one of the teams in the league that throw the football the least. So I don't know if it even manifests itself against the Falcons on Sunday. But at some point, if Juice can't go, and again, the team we play after that, the Giants, not a prolific passing team. They just lost one of their receivers last game in Rondell Robinson, the rookie who was playing well, was coming off of his best game of his career, and now he's lost to an ACL injury, which is it sucks. But you want him out there. You know, we want he's building momentum. He's playing great football. You want him out there. And besides, there's no alternative. What are we going to do? Stick Danny Johnson outside like we did in the Texans game? Like, what's the alternative? What are we going to do? Stick Christian Holmes out there? Sip, you're up. Like, what are we going to do? I don't really know what the alternative is. So I don't even want to find out. So we better hope Benjamin St-Juste is okay. He was one of the big injuries that was sustained. James Smith-Williams, I like to think that he's okay. I don't like going off of what I see in the locker room post-game because, again, you can be a little banged up. The adrenaline's still flowing. Your blood is still circulating. You're good. Nothing's settled. But remember, he left the game. He looked like he was fine when he walked off the field. I don't know. It looked like he might have got poked in the eye or something. I don't think it looked like it was anything serious. After the game, when they were talking to it was one of these defensive players. I think it was Deron Payne. James Smith-Williams came over and said, what is it like playing with James Smith-Williams? And what do you think about James Smith-Williams? So, and it was James Smith-Williams asking him that. So I think he's fine. I don't think there's anything there to see. But again, we'll see when the injury report comes out tomorrow. All right. So I wanted to handle that bit of business. I want to knock this out before I move on because I will forget and I don't want to. Ticket giveaway this week. All right. I think there's this sense that fans are really starting to get behind this team. And I think people want to go to the games now. I could be wrong about that. Anyway, this is a great weekend. Thanksgiving, get a football game at the crib. This would be a great gift for someone. So this is the season of giving. I love being able to give. So if you're interested, you're a member of either Patreon or the Mob, the MOBB, and you're interested in 2 tickets to the Atlanta Falcons game this upcoming Sunday at FedEx Field, simply use the hashtag, and I will leave this down in the comment section and I will tag it just in case you need a reminder of what to use. DBF. Okay. Hashtag DBF. That stands for Dirty Bird Feast. It's Thanksgiving. What are we eating this weekend, guys? What are we feasting on? Bird. Okay. We had bird a couple of weeks ago on Monday. Now we're eating bird again. This is a different variety. This is Dirty Bird. Okay. Little bit of extra spices. Spicy. Yeah. Little dirty. So down south, right? Okay. So they put a couple of extra things in the pot to spice it up a bit. But it's all the same. It's still bird, right? At the end of the day, we still getting into some bird. It's Thanksgiving. What else would we be eating but bird this time of the year, right? So, Dirty Bird Feast. Hashtag DBF if you're interested in the Falcon tickets. Again, have to be a member of the Mob or Patreon. All right? So, let's get to something that I like to do on Tuesdays, which is take a trip around the NFC East. And now, as we get later into the season, it's time to start looking at the playoff picture. Okay. So let's go ahead and take a close look at the standings in the NFC overall. So what you see in front of you is all 16 teams in the conference. We are not concerned with the teams 10 and below, okay? 9 and up is what we're going to concern ourselves with. And really, we can narrow the pool of teams that we're looking at to 4 through 8, okay? 4 through 8. But we have to include the Falcons. We played them this week. They're not going to go away unless we put them away. Washington currently sits at 8. This is where they were last week, but things have changed. As you can see, all right, Eagles still atop the conference at 9-1. Vikings still number 2 in the conference at 8-2. They took a big one on the chin. Whew, that was brutal at the crib. Cowboys split their noodle. They're still 8-2 and the second best team in the NFC. 49ers, this is one of the big changes. 49ers, they were in front of us last week as the 7th seed. They won on Monday night in convincing fashion, 38-10. That tied them for first place with the Seattle Seahawks. They beat the Seahawks earlier this season in week 2, if I'm not mistaken. And thus, they own the tiebreaker over the Seahawks. So they go to the number 3 hole. And the Seahawks come down to number 7. We will come back to that. But the 49ers are now the 3rd seed in the NFC. Buccaneers are the 4th seed because they are leading the putrid NFC South right now at 5-5. They were on their bye week. And so those are your top 4 seeds. They're going to play home games if they win their respective divisions. Now we go to the wild card, and this is where we need to be concerned. We're not going to catch the Philadelphia Eagles, okay? Not going to happen. But we can catch the Dallas Cowboys, we can catch the New York Giants, and we damn sure can catch the Seattle Seahawks. So we don't have to just settle for the 7 seed. You know, I just want in, right? Because that's all I want is a chance. Because if you get in, and personally, I prefer the 7 seed. If you want to be honest, if we're keeping it a buck, I want to go to Minnesota. If they're still the 2 seed, which I think they're going to ultimately be the 2 seed, but we'll see. I don't think they're going to implode to the point where there's a discussion within their division, but they could implode to the point where they come down in terms of division leaders and they're no longer the 2 seed, but rather the 3 or the 4. However, I don't see that happening. They really got to fall off the cliff for that to happen. But I would prefer to go to Minnesota than to go to San Francisco. I don't know how the game against the 49ers is going to turn out when we go to play them a little bit later on in the season. But I can already envision that that's going to be a brutal contest, right? Like it's going to be tough on us. It's going to put a lot of stress on our defense. Their defense is legit. It's going to put a lot of strain on our offense. It's going to be tough. I'd much rather go to Minnesota. Much rather go to Minnesota. And if we beat them, I'd much rather have to go to Philadelphia the week thereafter. So I personally prefer the 7 seed, but we're not just chasing after the 7 seed. We don't have to just be relegated to talking about the 7 seed. And why is that? Because as you look, the Cowboys are the 5 seed. They're 7-3. Okay. They moved up. Remember, last week, the Cowboys were the 6 seed. The Giants were the 5 seed. And the 49ers were the 7 seed. Everything is kind of changed in that little mix there because the Cowboys beat the Giants already head-to-head earlier in the season in New York. Now those two will be playing on Thanksgiving. I don't see any way in hell the Giants win that game, but stranger things have happened. We'll see. It's family business. You know how that goes. And so both of those teams are 7-3, but the Cowboys own the tiebreaker because they beat the Giants earlier this season. And as you can see, I don't know if you're paying attention or not, but the Giants have only played 1 game in the division. Washington's played 3 in the division. Dallas has played 3 in the division. Philadelphia's played 3 in the division. The Giants have only played 1 game in the division, which means the back end of their schedule is loaded with NFC East opponents. It starts this week on Thanksgiving against Dallas. That's their final matchup with the Cowboys. Then they've got Washington twice in 3 weeks, and then they finish up the season. They've got the Eagles twice as well. They haven't played the Eagles yet at all. So they've got the Eagles, and then they've got them again to finish up the season in week 18. So Giants' schedule littered with NFC East contests. We'll see how they fare. But Dallas is the 5 seed. Giants are the 6 seed right now. Both are 7-3. Someone's going to get their 4th loss, is what I'm telling you. Someone's going to be 7-4 after Thursday, and that puts them squarely in the crosshairs if we take care of business versus the Falcons on Sunday. Now we're 7-5, and someone's going to be a half game ahead of us, which means even if we are still on the outside looking in, we're that much closer to not only getting in, but potentially leapfrogging not 1, but 2 teams. Because what happens if Seattle loses? You know, let's say Seattle wins this upcoming week because they got a game that's very winnable at the crib. But then let's say they lose the following week after that. And they're then 7-5, right? Or that would make them, 7-5. I said that right. And we go ahead and we win this week, which will make us 7-5. And then we win again next week. Seattle would then be a half game behind us. We would be 8-5. They'd be 7-5. We'd leapfrog them. What if the Giants lose this week, lose again next week, and all of a sudden they're 7-6? 7-5. All right. So we beat them head to head. We'd leapfrog them and Seattle in one fell swoop. You go from 8 to 6, just like that. So what I'm telling you is the likelihood is we're going after the 7 seed. But in the process, we could stumble into the 6. I'd prefer 7. I'm not looking to be greedy at this point because the team that I want to play is sitting in the 2 hole. I want the Vikings. If you're a team in the wild card, you should be fighting over getting an opportunity to go to Minnesota. As disrespectful as that sounds, I'm disrespecting the Minnesota Vikings. The Cowboys just did it. Why not? Anyway, let's take a look. So we're going to go and we're going to do a deep dive now, okay? So let's take a look at the remaining schedules of all the teams in the mix. So let's look at it in this perspective. Eagles are going to win the NFC East more likely than not. It's not a foregone conclusion. They could easily have Dallas catch them. They play the Cowboys once more. They almost slipped up to the Indianapolis Colts. Anything can happen. All right. So we don't want to just assume that they're going to win the division. But right now, that's a safe assumption to make. I'm not going to crown them, but right now they're sitting in the driver's seat and they're comfortable. They got a 2-game cushion and they beat Dallas. So that gives them another game. So we'll just say that the Eagles right now are going to win the division. Same thing for the Vikings. They've pretty much got their division locked up. That whole division stinks right now. So as long as they don't lose every single game remaining on their schedule, they're going to win their division. Tampa Bay is going to win that division. That division sucks. And the 49ers, they're not out of the woods. So you're looking at San Francisco, you're looking at Seattle, you're looking at the Giants, you're looking at the Cowboys. Those are the 4 teams that Washington should be concerned with. I honestly think, and I've already said this on various shows here on the channel, I think San Francisco is going to win that division. I said that last week after they won against the Chargers. I said they're coming for that division and they're going to overtake Seattle and ultimately win the NFC West. They're the best team in that division. Now they're in first place. I don't see them relinquishing first place, but we'll see what happens. We'll look at every single team's schedule, remaining schedule that is pertinent to Washington. Let's start here with the Dallas Cowboys, okay? As you can see, Dallas destroyed the Minnesota Vikings in week number 11. They're heading into Thanksgiving with a ton of confidence. They've got the Giants, who just came off of being destroyed. It was the worst loss of the season by the Detroit Lions, and they lost like 6 guys to injury during the game. So the Giants are battered. They're bruised. Their ego is somewhat battered and bruised. They're going in. They're wounded, and they're still dangerous. We'll see what happens, but that looks like a game the Cowboys should win. When you look at this schedule, this kind of feels like, hey, we're not catching Dallas. Look at the schedule, And you tell me, home for the Giants, home for the Colts, home for the Texans. Okay. Right there, that sounds like 3 straight victories. And when we had the Super Friends, roundtable discussion, I said, if you can find a way to navigate your way through the season early, it gets a lot easier for the Cowboys late, because a lot of the games that, some of the teams in the division have been taking advantage of, that AFC South in particular, they haven't even touched it yet. They got the Colts, the Texans, the Jags, and the Titans. They haven't even touched that division yet. That division stinks, and they haven't even set foot in it yet. The Giants have already swept the entire AFC South. 4 of the Giants' 7 wins have come from the AFC South, which is why I was pissed off, because we didn't take advantage of that division the way we were supposed to. We should have beat the Titans too. We beat the Jags, we beat the Texans, we beat the Colts. We should have swept that division just like the Giants did. We should have beat the Titans too. The Cowboys are going to get that opportunity. So I don't see us catching them, okay? We got them the last game of the season. They'll be playing for something. This notion that they'll have something locked up. The only way the Cowboys don't need that final game in Week 18 is if they're already locked into the 5 seed. There's no way Philadelphia is going to allow them to overtake them and have already locked up the division. That's not happening. So either Philadelphia's locked up the division and Dallas is locked into the 5 seed, or they're going to be playing for something come Week 18. But honestly speaking, the last 6 games of the Cowboys schedule, the only ones that look like games they could lose are the ones within the division and the Titans game. That's not a gimme. That's on, looks like a Saturday. I think that's a Saturday. Christmas is on Sunday this year, isn't it? If I'm not mistaken, Christmas and New Year's are on Sundays. So if that's the case, the 29th is a Friday. Let me look at my schedule. Maybe I'm tripping. What is the 29th? Yeah, it's a Thursday. It's a Thursday. I'm about to say NFL they don't play games on Fridays. That's a Thursday. Late in the season, they'll be playing the Titans on Thursday Night Football. That's interesting. But that looks like a doable schedule. I don't think we catch the Cowboys just looking at their schedule. All right, so if you're not catching them, who's next? All right, let's take a look at the Giants. I said this on the overtime show yesterday, I believe it was, when San Francisco won. And I know a lot of you don't watch, anything but the Washington shows. So that's fine. But I'll repeat it for you guys that didn't see and didn't hear what I said. I said the Giants and the Seahawks can't both make the playoffs. One of them has to come up off the spot. Okay. One of them has to come up off one of those playoff spots, because those 2 teams weren't supposed to be here. They showed up. They crashed the party. No one invited them. And they was like, hey, we heard it was a party. And they brought a keg. And so you let them come in. But eventually they got annoying. And this is why you didn't invite them in the first place. And now you want them to leave. One of them has to go. Okay. I don't care which. One has to go. I think the one that ultimate, because Geno Smith doesn't look like he's bullshitting. Geno's like, nah, I know where the party's at and I'm not leaving. I think the Giants are the pretenders here. Let's look at the schedule and see if that kind of fits the narrative. Thanksgiving against Dallas, that seems like a kamikaze mission, but it's family business. You can't count them out of that game. We've got them in New York. Obviously, nothing's ever easy for us, especially when we have to go to the Meadowlands. That said, I like the spot. Now, Daniel Jones loves when he sees us coming. He plays some of his best football when he sees us. I can't explain it. It doesn't make any sense to me, but they always seem to find a way to get the best out of Daniel Jones when they play us. We'll see what happens in a couple of weeks. After that, they've got the Eagles for the first time this season, and they're at home. That's going to be an interesting game. Anytime NFC East opponents are playing against one another, I don't give a shit. Beat the hell out of each other. But in this particular instance, maybe we might be rooting for the Eagles. We'll see. I don't really like rooting for anybody in the division if I don't have to. Just beat the shit out of each other. Hell, let the game end in a tie. Maybe that's not the best thing in the world, because then you start getting into, hey, they own the tiebreaker because they got a tie. So you can't finish tied with them and say, hey, we beat you twice. Doesn't really matter at that point. Anyway, they got the Eagles. Then they play us again after our bye week. Okay. That game could be moved depending on how they're feeling. That game could be moved to a Saturday. That's why it says TBD. Okay. Because it says December 18th. It doesn't have to be 18th. It could be the 19th. It could be the 18th. I don't know. Let me look at the schedule real quick. Let me look at the calendar. It could be the 17th or the 18th. I said it right the first time. Because that's when we start playing Saturday games. College football season is done. You're getting into the bowl season. And so Saturday becomes available. They might slide us in that slot. And with the Giants playing how they've played to this point, with us playing the way we're playing now, if we're still playing that way when we get to that game, I think they're going to move us to Saturday. We'll see. Then they got the Vikings at Minnesota. Interesting stuff. Then they got the Colts, and they finish up with the Eagles. Again, will the Eagles need that last game? I don't like to leave it up to chance. I'd prefer to do our work early and not rely on the Eagles to have to play guys. Gardner Minshew. Oh, Gardner Minshew. Go in there and beat them, please. I don't want to beg anybody to do anything. Do your own dirty work. We got the Giants twice. Take care of business. But this shit is tough, is what I'm telling you. The Giants got all their easy shit out of the way, okay? There isn't an AFC South team. They've already used all of those up. There isn't an NFC South, NFC North team that sucks. They used all those up, and the Lions just bust their ass, but they got the Vikings left. That's the best team in that division. Already used up their Packers, already used up their Bears. So this shit is tough. But I've already told you, they got 5 NFC East games, so you knew the shit was going to be tough. And then one of the non-NFC East games that's left is the Vikings. That's not easy. On the road to boot. So I'm looking at the Giants and I'm saying, hey, you the food. You the food. You're the one that we're going to devour and get you out of there. All right, let's see who's next. So now we're looking at the Seahawks schedule, right? And they're interesting because they got a lot of winnable football games. Remember, first of all, their division sucks. So keep that in mind when you look at their schedule. But they got a lot of winnable games. And like Geno Smith isn't playing around. Like he's not effing around. They're here to stay. I don't think they're going away. Now you look at the schedule, Raiders this week. They're coming off of their bye week and they're getting the Raiders. They should win that game at home. Then they go on the road to LA. The Rams suck ass. And there's no Cooper Kupp. There's no help in sight. Matthew Stafford went down again with a concussion. He just got back from a concussion. They sent him to the locker room and checked him and evaluated him for a concussion. They were playing the UVA quarterback, Bryce Perkins, in the game on Sunday versus New Orleans. Like, the Rams are in free fall mode. They're going to beat them more likely than not. They got the Panthers after that. Are you kidding me? After that, they got the 49ers. That's going to be a big game. That's on a Monday night. And again, that's going to be a big game within that division because that could be for the division lead. They're tied right now at 6-4. I don't see a game here that they should lose leading up to that game. So we'll see what that game means for both teams, but that's a big one. They got the Chiefs. Yeah, on the road. I love it. Okay, love it. Got the Jets. Not an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. Jets should be fighting for their proverbial playoff lives by then if they're not done. Okay, the Jets play defense. If nothing else, that's going to be a tough game. Anything can happen. Then they finish up at home against the Rams. They should win that game. So of this schedule, I see 3 games that they definitely should win. And then I see 3 games that could go in any direction. All right. Raiders game, Rams game, Seahawks game. Really 4 then, because I think they can beat the Rams both times. Raiders game, Rams game, Panthers game, Rams game again at the end are all 4 of those are games that you think they should win. But again, it's the NFL. Nothing should be taken for granted. And then obviously the 49ers, the Chiefs, and the Jets are going to be games that they're going to have to fight for. Not saying that the other four that they won't have to fight for those, but these are games that could go in either way. You don't just say, oh, Seattle should win that game. Anyway, I like our chances with this Seahawks team as well. I'd like to think they're going to slip up one of these games that we think they're going to win. They're going to slip up. You know, they could slip up against the Raiders. Don't think they will, but they could. You know, family business, they could slip up against the Rams. I don't think they will. We'll see. I just need one of those games to be, oh shit, what do we do? Yes. Raiders got them in overtime 27-24. Like one of those. We'll see. And then finally, this is the one that I think is the most irrelevant because honestly, I don't think this is going to come into play. I think they're going to ultimately win the NFC West and we won't be fighting with them over a wild card. I think they're going to win their division, but you know, stranger things have happened. This isn't the easiest of schedules by any stretch of the imagination, but this is why I think they're good. I think they're going to navigate their way through this thing successfully. So Saints, we're looking at the 49ers schedule in case you haven't picked up on all the 49ers logos littered all over this thing. This is the 49ers remaining schedule. So Saints, that's a game that they should and probably will win on Sunday, okay? Then shit gets real spicy. All right, gets spicy as the calendar turns to December. Home for the Dolphins. That's going to be a shootout. They're going to have to score some points. Their defense is good enough to slow down Miami's offense, but still Tyreek Hill, still Jalen Waddle, Mike Gesicki and company. And remember, Kyle Shanahan knows their head coach, Mike McDaniel, and Mike McDaniel knows Kyle Shanahan. Okay. Should be fun. Buccaneers after that. Both of them are at home. Okay. That's not going to be an easy game, but that's a game they can win. But we'll see. The Buccaneers, last time the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl, I said last time like they've won it 3 times. When they won the Super Bowl 2 years ago, they went on a bye, and it was right around this point of the season. They came off the bye, and they got hot, and they started scoring a bunch of points. Now, it was against a bunch of low-rent, bottom-feeding teams that they could beat up on, like Detroit and Chicago. Or I don't think it was Chicago because that was the Brady 4-5 game, right? It's 4th down, right, bro? No, you just lost the game. It's not 4th down. But it was a bunch of teams that they could score points on, and they took the liberty to do it. They could come off the bye and start playing well. Could the Buccaneers? We'll see. 49ers, that's not going to be an easy game. Seahawks, we just talked about that game. That's going to be a big game within that division. They got us. That's going to be a big game for, both teams involved there. And then Raiders and Cardinals to finish up 2 games that I think they'll ultimately win. So when you look at this schedule, they've got 3 games that you think they should win, Saints, Raiders, and Cardinals. But the 4 games in the middle, okay, Dolphins, Bucks, Seahawks, Commanders, tough. They could be the ones that end up being a wild card, and the Seahawks could take advantage of their schedule and end up winning that division if they're not able to successfully navigate the Dolphins, Bucks, Seahawks, Commanders, so forth and so forth. So just wanted to throw the 49ers in there. I don't think they'll be the ones that we'll be targeting, but we'll see. I got my eye on the Giants. We just need one team to exit so we can get in. Now, we got to do our part. Remember, none of this shit matters that I just said if we don't do our part, right? Understand what that means. If we don't do our job, which means win football games, beat Atlanta, at worst, split with the Giants, but you should be looking to sweep them. They're vulnerable right now. But at a bare minimum, you have to split with the Giants. Beat the 49ers. If you don't beat them, then you got to win the final 2 against the Browns and the Cowboys. We're not getting the Jacoby Brissett-led Browns, okay? As a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, Deshaun Watson comes back this week for them. Or is it next week? He had an 11-game suspension. This is week 12, but I think they had a bye. So this would only be game 11 for them. I think next week is Deshaun Watson being back. So whatever the case may be, he'll have 3 or 4 starts under his belt by the time we see him. He'll be comfortable. It won't be the same Browns offense. Won't be the same, Browns team. He'll add a different element. Yeah, he hasn't played in a while. If we were the first game back, I'd feel a lot more comfortable. But we're like the 3rd or 4th game he'll be playing in. So he'll be a lot more comfortable. So we got to take care of business. I said all of that to say this. We got to take care of business. But everything that we want is in front of us. And the other teams that are in the playoff mix, they've got tough goes of it. And I'm looking at the Giants and I'm saying, hey, man, this was a valiant effort. And you really, really surprised a lot of people, and you put yourself in a great position to be playing meaningful football in November, into December. This shit has been really cute, but the jig is up. The jig is up. All right. You know how we talk about Father Time undefeated, and when Father Time comes and taps you on the shoulder and says, come on, it's time. You can't say, nah, just, you know how kids, when they're playing at the park and you give them that look like, hey, 5 minutes. And they playing, and then you say, all right, it's time to go. And they're like, come on, can I just have 5 more minutes? Nah, come on, it's time to go. I'm tapping the Giants on the shoulder, and I'm like, come on, Giants, it's time to go, man. They're like, but this is fun. We want to step. Nope. You had enough fun. You've done this for 11 weeks now. You've had enough. Let's go. I think it started with the Lions. Dallas is going to continue that, and I'd like to pick up. If Dallas takes care of business, I'd like to pick up where they left off and expedite these boys and get them out of the way because they weren't supposed to be here. Nobody had the Giants anywhere near the playoffs before the season started. And every week that they won, everyone kept waiting for the other shoe to drop for them to start being garbage. Like, oh, yeah, we don't believe in the Giants. And then you didn't believe in them when they were 3-0, and then when they were 3-1, and then they were 4-1, and then they were 5-1, and then they were 6-1, and you still didn't believe. Then they lose to the Seahawks, so you go, see. When they play somebody decent, they lose. Then they beat the Texans, and you're like, yeah, that's cute. They're 7-2, whatever. They lose to the Lions, and now we're ready to say, all right, it's time. Now with all these injuries, now with the schedule getting real tough, you've already used up all your AFC South games. You've used up all your NFC North games except for Minnesota. Now you're about to play the NFC East games. Shit's about to get real tough, rough, and rugged. Now we're ready to say, all right, you had fun. Used up all your non-divisional games. Now we're about to get you up out of there. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, I digress. Let's move on to social media maneuvers. I'm a midnight marauder. See what you guys have to say. Get to the comment section and then get out of here. So you guys see what I'm on. You see how I feel. You see what I think is going to occur. You've seen the schedules. Now, what says you? All right. See what we got going on. Shout out to everybody in the comment section. Shout out to everyone that is watching this video right now. Over 570 of you. That's awesome. If you're out there, and with that being said, it's 570 of you, and we only have 100 and some odd likes. That doesn't make any sense to me. So if you would please hit the like button if you haven't already done so. If you appreciate the content, if you enjoy this video, if you're enjoying this video, rather, you enjoy the content, all you got to do is hit the like button. Doesn't cost you a thing, and it helps the channel out exponentially. So with that said, JP gets us started tonight. My guy, John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, who writes. For starters, happy Thanksgiving to you and the fam, Lou. Likewise, JP, man. We're going to chop it up tomorrow on the podcast. We'll get nostalgic. We'll do the thing that we do on Thanksgiving every year. You know, it's my favorite holiday. So we're going to chop it up and have some fun tomorrow on the podcast. But happy Thanksgiving to you and yours, man. You and your, are y'all married now, or are you still engaged? Either way, you and your beautiful fiance, wife. You guys enjoy each other's company, enjoy your family, and have at it, man. Have fun. Enjoy it. Cherish these moments, everyone. As we see every day in this crazy world, nothing's guaranteed to us, okay? So enjoy and cherish every single one of these occasions, these holidays. Enjoy your family. Enjoy each other's company. Don't take it for granted. He says, I do want to ask you, would you like to see Washington make another run at A-Rod, or is that dream dead and gone? I really don't know how to feel about Aaron Rodgers because he's such an eccentric personality. I think he rubs a lot of people the wrong way. Of course, you would love to have that caliber of a quarterback on your football team, but I don't know if he's always the best teammate. I don't know how he would come into this locker room and assimilate himself. I think he probably would be fine with most of the guys in the locker room, but Rodgers is an animated dude. He says how he's at this point now of his career where he's doing the Pat McAfee show with one of his ex-teammates, AJ Hawk, and he's like an old person. When old people get to that age where they just don't give a shit, they say whatever they want out of their mouth because, hell, I earned it. I got my stripes, okay? I can say whatever I want. There's no penalty. What are you going to do? He's gotten to that point in his career in the NFL. Like, he's just saying whatever the hell out of his mouth. And I don't know if that necessarily fits what we're doing in Washington or not. I know a lot of you are like, to hell with that shit. I don't care about none of that. Yeah, hell yeah. If we can get Aaron Rodgers, get Aaron Rodgers. At the same time, I don't know. I personally would love to get him, but I don't want to give up what it's going to take to get him. Because I'm looking at what happened with Russell Wilson, and I'm saying maybe Aaron Rodgers is declining. He's looked like ass at times this season. And, of course, some of it has to do with the receivers. Some of it has to do with them not being on the same page. But he's missed open receivers. He's missed throws that we are not accustomed to seeing Aaron Rodgers miss. Wide open receivers, and he's missing. He's off target. It could be the thumb injury. It could just be he's getting old. I don't know. I can't decipher between the two. I'm a little bit hesitant to go after one of these aging veteran quarterbacks because I've watched what Russell Wilson did this season, and I'm saying I don't want any parts of that because it's hard to overcome that if you're Denver and Russell. And look, Russell Wilson may be better next season. Who knows? But if this shit continues, it'll be one of the worst trades in NFL history because not only did you trade a bunch of first-round picks away for this guy, but you also tore up his original contract and gave him new money. You're tied to this guy for the next 4 years. Big money. And if he sucks ass, he is going to single-handedly drown your franchise. You'll be doing something similar if you were to go after Aaron Rodgers. He's already got the big, massive contract that he signed, the extension this past offseason, where he's making like $50 million per year, excuse me, on this extension. And you're going to have to give up first-round picks with an S. You're not getting Aaron Rodgers for a first-round pick. You're going to have to give up multiple first-round picks for him. Do you really want to do that? I want to win, so I would entertain. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I think I kind of want to go about it after going out and getting Carson Wentz, I kind of want to go about it the draft, route personally. But I still think that this team will be sniffing around available quarterbacks via trade, i.e. a guy that we wanted last offseason in Jimmy Garoppolo. He'll be available again this offseason. Will he be traded? We'll see. Derek Carr, if the Raiders continue to stink now, they just won. And if I'm Derek Carr, I'm playing for my livelihood. I'm playing for my ability to stay the starting quarterback of the Las Vegas Raiders. If the Raiders end up with the top 7 pick, there's a chance that his ass is gone. If they end up with a top 5 pick, he's definitely gone. Okay. So if I'm Derek Carr, I'm out here slinging BBs. I'm playing like my career depends on it. If you really want to keep playing with your bestie, you better start winning some damn football games. I know that much. He was playing like a man that was playing for his job on Sunday against the Broncos. He's going to have to continue to play that way, or else they'll be drafting a youngin and take his spot and trade his ass in the offseason. That's another name to watch. And you got to know teams like Washington, Indianapolis, we're the type of teams that are sniffing around quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers and Derek Carr and Jimmy Garoppolo. We're vultures. We're waiting for teams to decide that guy's career in that particular town is dead, and we're looking to pick up the carcass. So I wouldn't put anything past us, but I don't know about Aaron Rodgers. Michael White, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, my guy. Michael White writes, hey, Lou, if this team makes the playoffs, are they dangerous? You damn right they are. That's the point I was making when we opened the show, is that nobody really truly knows what this team is capable of. Nobody really knows what to make of this team. They kind of dismiss us because Taylor Heineke's our starting quarterback, and that's fine. That's fair. Okay. But understand that the NFC isn't the AFC. We're not loaded at the quarterback position. Anybody can go into the playoffs, and with the sound run game, some quality defense, and some timely throws, which Heineke does provide, you can win football games. Okay. Ryan Tannehill showed us that back in 2020 when he took the Titans to the AFC Championship game. He literally threw the football and had 7 completions in their win against New England. The following week against the Baltimore Ravens, I think he had like 12 completions in that game. Like, run the football, play good defense, make timely throws. He did that in both of those first 2 games, and that got him to the AFC Championship game. Heineke could do that. Heineke could lead a team, in a conference that isn't as strong. Absolutely. You're damn right we're dangerous if we get in. We lead the league in quarterback hits. We lead the league in quarterback pressures. You're damn right. We silenced the Texans run game. Dameon Pierce, 10 carries, 8 yards. Like, we're stopping the run. We're getting after your quarterback. We're now producing turnovers defensively. Our kicker is now gaining confidence and kicking bombs. And our offense, not where we want it to be yet. Still a work in progress, but we're getting pieces back. We're getting healthier. And that offensive line is starting to gel. And we're getting the backups, back in the fold. So in the event that someone goes down, we're not twiddling our thumbs or looking to pull up some rando off the practice squad. Yeah, damn right we're dangerous. They better not let us in this bitch. All right. Kevin the PRF, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, only thing still has me dismissive is the O-line. I need more yards per carry. Hashtag how's Wes. I think the yards per carry for this particular team is overrated. We've already gone through this exercise, but I'll do it again quickly. The thing about this team, one, I've already told you, we're not a dominant run blocking team. We're not a team that, has our running back running 4 or 5 yards down the field before first contact. That's not how we're set up. We're not creating a new line of scrimmage. We're not erasing the original line of scrimmage and creating a new one 2-3 yards down the field. We don't get a lot of movement, okay? What we do is we lean on teams. We continue to be consistent throughout, which wears on teams. And if you continue to convert third downs, you continue to get opportunities to run it more and wear a team down, eventually you'll get some of those runs you're looking for. But if you are in 3rd and 1, you're calling a play to get 1 yard on the ground. That's all you're really looking for. If you get 16, great. But I just want you to get 1 so that we get another opportunity to call 3 more plays. So that drags your yards per carry down. If you run for a 1-yard touchdown, that brings your yards per carry down. Like, Antonio Gibson could have averaged close to 5 yards a carry if he turns the corner at the end of that Texans game and scores, that's an additional 10, 11 yards. Instead of him running because he didn't get the first down, he had to run another play and run and get another 3 yards, which brings the yards per carry down. If he turns the corner and scores that touchdown like he would have had he not been looking to slide, now all of a sudden he's averaging more yards. And again, that's a unique set of circumstances. I'm just telling you, how many times in a game are we running the football with a purpose of 1 or 2 yards? That's all we're looking for. That's all we need. Now, to your point, there are plays like the 3rd and 2 that we hand off to Brian Robinson, and he's immediately contacted in the backfield, has to make that guy miss. Another defender comes, he's got to make him miss, then get in the hole, drag another guy, and get 4 yards on 3rd and 2. That shouldn't be happening. But it does happen with this offensive line. So I get it, but don't allow yards per carry to be your measuring stick. I would just tell you, just watch the game, understand what is being done. No, the yards per carry aren't impressive. I don't know if we've had many games this season where it has been. Maybe the Bears game for Antonio Gibson was one of the few games this season where the yards per carry was absolutely through the roof. I know the Dallas game was great for all of the backs. They all averaged over 4 yards a pop in that game. Williams, Gibson, and McKissick. But understand that this team, more likely than not, with how we're trying to run the football, the style of play that we're playing with, you're not going to have a hearty yards per carry. That's not what this offensive line is about. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy, JP, writes, you think Samuel should get an extension? I say yes. I don't know if they're in that mindset of extending him, this offseason. Obviously, he'll be going into the final year of his deal. And so that is something that you would entertain. Absolutely. But I think the first order of business is Daron Payne. I think the next order of business would be Montez Sweat. And then you got to have a Cole Holcomb discussion. You got to handle the guys that are immediately free agents. Cole Holcomb is a free agent after the season. Daron Payne is a free agent after the season. So these are the guys that you have to look at and determine, do I want these guys back? And you have to make a decision. Okay. Once you get past all of those guys on the roster that you need to make a decision on right away, then you start looking at guys that can get the extension. Montez Sweat comes to mind, obviously. And then Curtis Samuel would be another one that comes to mind. Do you have any youngins on the roster that are coming up and going into their final year of their deal that you would like to re-up on? You have to take a look at that, i.e. Cam Curl, who's going to be going into the last year of his deal next year. So this offseason is the year that you would want to talk turkey with him to get an extension banged out. Again, how do you prioritize it? Curtis is already on his second deal. Are you more worried about him, going into his third deal, or are you more concerned with the guy going into his second deal, on that rookie contract? I don't know. We'll see. That's some interesting stuff. You don't want to let too many guys get to free agency because you can't franchise tag everyone. You don't want to let guys get to free agency. So I think you prioritize the guys that would be leaving this offseason and that you want to keep. Obviously, Sweat comes to mind, and he's the first guy at the top of the list. Cole Holcomb, as I mentioned, there are others probably on the roster that are in that same predicament. It's Wes Schweitzer is another guy, that I've loved, but, we'll see how they feel about him. The injury that he sustained this year didn't really help his cause, but he's been really good in his 3 years here. I'd like to see them, think about bringing him back. And so we'll see what they decide to do with some of those guys. And then you start getting to the extension guys. And, how do they handle that? I don't know. But I think Curtis is in that discussion for sure. without a doubt. Cam Curl is in that discussion as well. So, we'll see. We'll see what they decide to do. My money says yes. But would you be upset if they didn't do anything with him, similar to Deron Payne, and said, all right, you had one season where you didn't play, one season where you were the guy that we thought you were going to be. Do it again. Would you be mad if they, put him in that position and said, do it again and made him prove it? I wouldn't. I wouldn't. Mr. Flapjack, stand up. You are the newest member of the MOBB. Welcome aboard, Mob. Y'all know what to do. Show Mr. Flapjack some love. Welcome him with open arms. Looking forward to chopping it up with you. Welcome to the squad, Mr. Flap Jack. All right. Let's see. 1/6 Devil Doc. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Shout out to your wife who writes, Lou, Paulson said that we match up well against San Francisco. I mean, that sounds good. In order to match up well with the 49ers, we're going to have to stop the run consistently. And the 49ers are a very diverse run-based offense, meaning they can run it between the tackles. They can run it outside. They got Trent Williams. They're moving this guy all around. He's at fullback. He's pulling and mauling guys. They get outside well. Deebo Samuel had a 36-yard touchdown run last night. I told you, if you really want to attack Washington's defense in the run game, the perimeter is where you do it. They're a good perimeter run team, but they also can run it in between the tackles. So we could match up with them well, but we'd have to stop the run at the level that we're fully capable of. We'll see. I know this. We match up well in this regard. I think we can get to Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy's not running anywhere. That's what makes me feel good. You get to Jimmy, and then Jimmy starts doing stupid shit. So that's the one thing that I think we can do. But in order to be able to do that, you got to stop the run first, because they'll just keep turning around and handing it off like they did against the Chargers. Wear you down, and then eventually you can't stop it. Now, the Chargers aren't a good rush defense, so that's not a good comparison. But in that game, they eventually wore them down. All right. Got a super chat here from Red Wings 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Red Wings 01. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Writes, I think it's the beginning of the end for the Giants. They had a good run, and they still may finish with 9+ wins, but the injuries have sapped them. I think those injuries are starting to mount. That was a brutal game on Sunday for them. In adding injury to insult, like that is the definition of adding injury to insult, because they got their brains bashed in. They weren't expecting to lose that game. You're at home against the 3-6 Lions. You're thinking, oh yeah, they've won 2 in a row. That's cute. We about to dust these boys though. And they come in there, they punch you in the mouth. They pick off Daniel Jones. They stop Saquon Barkley, hold him to 22 yards rushing in the game. And they dominated on the ground. They ran it down the Giants' throat. And then you get injured. 6 guys, as I mentioned, got injured. There's both of their starting corners got injured in the game. Adoree Jackson is going to be out for a significant amount of time, it sounds like. Fabian Moreau, they got some of our leftovers. He was starting for them. He got banged up in the game. They lose Wan'Dale Robinson, their rookie wide receiver who was playing well. They don't have a lot at receiver as is, right? Kenny Golladay is still struggling, okay? And obviously they lost Sterling Shepard early in the season. He's done. Now you lose Wan'Dale Robinson. They traded Kadarius Toney. They don't have a lot at receiver. And now you lose Wan'Dale Robinson. Yeah, they're hurting, man. They're hurting a lot. So we'll see. Might be the beginning of it. It feels like the beginning of the end, but the Giants have surprised me all season long, and it wouldn't shock me. I'm not expecting this, but it would not shock me if they went to Dallas and put up a hell of a fight. And in the fourth quarter, they've got a chance. Like, it wouldn't shock me if we got to the fourth quarter of that game and it's 23-16. Giants are down, but they're only down one score. And they've got the football. It wouldn't shock me. I don't think that's what's going to happen, but we'll see. All right. Got a super chat here from True Eminem Mullinex. Hashtag HTTC. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, hey, I have leftovers from Eagles. I rotisseried the Eagles. I got some duck sauce for you, Lou. LOL. I'm not a duck sauce guy, but I do have space for that Eagles rotisserie that you may have. I'm vegan, as you know. However, I know a lot of people that would enjoy that rotisserie bird. So pass it along, and I'll make sure it gets where it needs to get to be devoured. Okay. If you got a little bit of leftovers, if you don't want it now, if you want it, go ahead and knock it out. But I'll make sure it finds a good home. Okay, trust me. All right. Let's see if we got any more supers. And we do. Here's one from 1/6 Devil Doc. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Greatly appreciate you, 1/6 Devil Doc, who writes, Ben Slade and I never got off the whip. We told Ron to make a U-turn before going over the cliff. On our way back to pick up everybody who jumped out. You too. I appreciate that. I've had so many people say, hey, man, get back in the whip. And I'm just like, I'm hesitant because, again, I feel guilty because normally I'm the voice of reason. Normally I'm the guy trying to stop people from jumping off the cliff, from getting out of the proverbial whip. I'm the one that's telling you, hey, this shit is not as bad as you think. And I let my emotions get the best of me, and I know better. When you know better, you do better, and I didn't do better. So I feel bad. But at the same time, I do want back in the whip. I feel like I should be sitting in the front seat. But I also feel like I lost my spot. You know what I'm saying? So for all of you who didn't get out the whip, if you want to let me back in, if you want to let others who got out of the whip back in, look, I've always said, when it comes to this fan base, who are you to tell anybody else how to be with their fandom? This team has beaten us up to the point where sometimes you don't know how to feel. So who am I to tell someone who's turned the game off, who hasn't watched the team in 3 weeks, that now that we've won 5 out of 6, they can't come back? I'm not going to tell them that because they've been through a lot of shit with this team. And everybody deals with it differently. Not everybody's a glutton for punishment like a lot of us are, who hang around no matter what. So for those who got out of the whip because they couldn't take it, me being included in that discussion, we really appreciate you guys coming back to get us. It means a lot. I should have never gotten out of the whip because I had said before we played the Titans, after the loss to Dallas, I specifically laid out my plan for how I was going to attack the whip. I said, I'm not getting out of the whip if we lose to Tennessee. I'll take off my safety belt. I'll be ready to jump out of a moving whip if we lose to Chicago. But I'm not getting out of the whip even if we lose to Tennessee and drop to 1-4. Not getting out. It's not enough. 1-4 doesn't condemn your season. 1-5 does. 1-4 doesn't. But we lost in such an epic fashion. So many mistakes were made in that game. I let my emotions get the best of me. So I feel bad. But a lot of y'all have been so supportive and like, bro, we turning around, we coming to get you. Cool. I want back in. So I love it. Christopher McLaughlin. Stand up. You are the newest member of the MOBB. Greatly appreciate you. Mob, y'all know what to do. Show Christopher some love. Welcome him with open arms. Let him know what it's like to be a member of the MOBB. Hey, Christopher, welcome to the squad. So glad to have you. All right. Eddie B, my guy, Eddie Behringer. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, Lou, Eddie, D-line looking like bowling balls and butcher knives. You know what it is. Those boys out there playing. I can't help but think about Sapp coming through, you know, those few times in training camp. I can't help but think about the move made to make Jeff Skanina the permanent defensive line coach. And I can't help but think the influence that those guys have had, along with Ryan Kerrigan, who's in that room now, on this defensive line. I mean, it's night and day difference from what that D-line looked like a season ago to what it looks like now. And the only guys that seem to be winning just off of pure one-on-one, I'm going to whoop your ass, mano y mano, is the guys inside with Payne and Allen. I don't see a lot of Sweat winning that way. You don't see a lot of James Smith-Williams winning that way necessarily. Casey Toohill will win around the edge, but he's the one culprit left in the group that will rush up the field and leave a gaping hole for the quarterback to escape. When Ron got pissed off like 3 weeks ago, I want to say it was against the Packers. When Ron got pissed off, when Rodgers escaped the pocket, I think he was talking about Casey Toohill. He's usually talking about, I think it was the Colts game actually, when Sam Ehlinger got away a couple of times. It's usually Casey Toohill, but won't get a lot of outside immediate wins, but the ability for guys to play as one, you know, and continue to engulf, you know, the quarterback, collapse the pocket, but not allow any exit ramps, you know, no back doors that the quarterback can get out of. You got the defensive end looping around, but that D tackle is making sure he comes outside and still protects that D gap. So now there's nowhere for him to go, right? That's the beauty of what they're doing. Is it's a lot of movement, it's a lot of twists and stunts, but it's everybody doing it in unison and still keeping gap integrity. It's nasty when it works and everybody is just like we did it to Davis Mills like 2 or 3 times where the shit just collapses and there's nowhere to go. You want to run this way, you got a defensive tackle. You want to run this way, here comes a defensive end. Somebody grabs you, now you're fighting for your life, and next thing you know, you got 3 dudes jumping all over you. That shit is just wonderful. Bowling ball and butcher knives. Yeah. That's what it's feeling like right now. John Perez, my guy JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, nah, Lou, our big day isn't until October 14th, 2023. So she is, in fact, your fiance. Awesome. Congratulations once again. Says, I can send you an invite if you like. LOL. You can. I don't know if I'll be there, but you can if you want. Also, told y'all mofos about Cam Curl before the season. #beast. I don't think anyone was ever debating that Cam Curl was nasty. We just needed to see him step up. I'd still like to see him create some more turnovers, be around the football a little bit more, but I know his value. And, you know, sometimes it takes for someone to not be there for you to actually acknowledge what their value is. And we didn't have Cam Curl the first 2 weeks. and our defense struggled mightily in the first 2 weeks of the season. That's not a coincidence. I've said that at least 5 to 7 times, bare minimum, probably more like 10. It's not a coincidence that the two of the worst weeks that this defense has had this season came in the first 2 weeks without Cam Curl. Jacksonville should have scored 30, could have easily scored 40 on us. If Trevor Lawrence isn't missing passes left and right, if Travis Etienne doesn't drop a wide open touchdown on a 4th down, if their field goal kicker doesn't miss a chip shot field goal right before halftime, they would have put up 40 points in that game. We saw what the Lions did. They scored 36 points against us. Or was it 37? We scored 27 in that game, and we were down 9. So they had 36 points. We were annihilated defensively in that game. So it's not a surprise. Cam Curl is legit. And since he's come back, I've felt this way, and I've told you guys this as many times as I possibly could, that the defense has given us a chance to win in every single game since week 3. Every single game. So Cam Curl has definitely been, that dude, and you were right about him. But no one ever disputed that he was going to be nasty. I don't think anybody was debating you over the summer like, JP, you're crazy. It's not, Cam Curl isn't all that good. I don't think anybody was saying that. But he's playing well. Absolutely. B-Hat, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy B-Hat writes, playing a not so good Atlanta defense, I hope we can finally see some Heineke Ultra. I'm getting kind of worried that we never get to see back-to-back games where he gets over 200 yards passing or 2 touchdowns. Again, it's never going to be pretty with Taylor Heineke, and the statistics will never be, what you want them to be. The reason he's been named the starter moving forward isn't because he puts up gaudy numbers. Isn't because he's lighting the scoreboard up or lighting up the statistics sheet with numbers. All right. Heineke didn't even throw for 200 yards last week. He threw for 191 last week against the Texans. All right. He started that game horribly, if you recall. Okay. But he makes timely throws. He knows this offense. And again, it's never going to be pretty. The touchdown to interception ratio is always going to be hovering around 1 to 1.5. It's never going to be 2 to 1 where he's got 24 and 12 or something like that. It'll never be that big of a discrepancy. For every touchdown, there'll be a mistake. So essentially what I'm telling you is don't look for that. Don't look for that. Don't look for the big passing statistics. This Falcons defense that you called, bad, they're solid. That same San Francisco 49ers team that we're lauding and praising, they shut them down, reduced them to next to nothing, and dominated them. I watched them do it in disbelief at that. No, they're not a great defense. They're not terrible, though. Like, don't misconstrue the situation. You can move the ball in Atlanta's defense. You can score points on Atlanta's defense. But let's not make them out to be one of the worst defenses in football. They're not great, but they're not terrible either. So I'm hoping to see some Heineke Ultra too. Like, I don't really feel like we saw a lot of Heineke Ultra in the game against Houston. I think we saw a lot of Heineke Light. And that's fine. I told you, as long as we stay away from the non-alcoholic, I'm fine. Heineke Light can get the job done. I'd prefer Ultra, though. I prefer Ultra. But Heineke Light in doses can get the job done. You want that in moderation. You don't want just strictly Heineke Light. Like, I ain't trying to bust open a 24-pack of Heineke Light. Like, nah, that's too many. All right, I'll get a couple of the long neck bottles, like 3 of those. That's fine. get a little buzz off of that, I'm good. But if you really want my attention, go get me a 6-pack of Heine Ultra. Go get me a 6-pack of that. What I don't want, don't bring that shit to my residence. I will leave you outside. Do not bring Heineke non-alcoholic to my residence. You will not be allowed in. So for me, I don't know if we're going to get Ultra a ton, but I do know that light is fine in moderation. And that's what you're going to get more of. You're going to get more Heineke light than you are Heineke Ultra, just so you know. So just keep that in mind. All right. It'd be nice to see Ultra this week. You know, we saw him in spurts against Philadelphia. Not sure that we saw Ultra at all against the Texans. We saw light a lot. Some good throws, you know, solid decisions, but he was hesitant to run like he was against Minnesota a little bit. So we'll see. Christopher McLaughlin, thank you for being a member, the newest member of the MOBB. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Christopher, writes, happy Thanksgiving, Lou, to you and your family. Likewise, Christopher. Likewise. Enjoy the festivities. All the F's, as I like to call it. He says, I go by Chris. Chris it is. Only got to tell me once. Excuse me. With the 15th anniversary of Sean Taylor's passing, what are your thoughts on the statue being unveiled on Sunday and the team using it for motivation? They're supposed to be having an entire day filled with Sean Taylor. I was going to talk about this tomorrow on the show, but you brought it up now, so we'll talk about it now. So they're supposed to have an entire day dedicated to Sean Taylor with the 15th anniversary of his passing on Sunday. 11 o'clock, they said they're going to release his merch in the store that you can purchase. His daughter is going to come out and be one of the honorary captains for the coin toss to start the game, and then they're going to unveil his statue. So, you know, these things are all happening on Sunday. And, you know, I always christen, and I stopped doing this because I got mad because they kept losing this game. But I always would call this the Sean Taylor game. And I would tell them, look, you guys suck. Okay, I don't ask you for much. You know, generally, the extent of my wants with this team, hey, just get me to October still playing meaningful football into November, if at all possible. But just at least let me have meaningful football in October. I don't ask for much. One of my few asks every year was, can I please get the Sean Taylor game? And they would tell me, hell no, in a resounding fashion just about every year. We were terrible. At one point, we were like 3-7. I stopped counting because I started to get pissed off. I don't ask for much. And the one thing I ask for, you can't even deliver that. But obviously, this is the Sean Taylor game. And 15th anniversary, they're going to try to, hopefully, we should have known about this. And look, I don't know if it would have made a difference. But we should have known about this. We should have known about this. We should have known that you were going to do something special for the 15th anniversary. You should have been talking about it before the season started. This should have been common knowledge. But I'm not going to harp on it. I don't care enough about the mistakes that they make as an organization. I just love that they continue to not allow his legacy to die. As fans, we'll never allow Sean Taylor's legacy to die. I'm glad the organization is doing their part to uphold that as well. So, anyway, will they use it for motivation? Maybe. I mean, a lot of these guys, truth be told, they're so young. Some of these guys, they have no idea. What I'm so amazed by, honestly speaking, is this newer generation, how they don't go back. Like, my generation, we were always taught to honor the past, learn from the past, and allow that to be one of the driving forces for your success in the future. So you had to know about what guys that came before you were doing. And so I'm so shocked at how many young guys don't actually know what some of the, players from the past were doing and capable of. I always think about the NBA and how a lot of those players grew up on Kobe Bryant. So when he passed away, like a lot of these dudes took it hard. Devin Booker and Trae Young. That was their Michael Jordan. Our Michael Jordan was Kobe Bryant for them. And that's okay. That's understandable, right? That's what you grew up watching. You only know Kobe. But I'm shocked that a lot of those guys hadn't gone back and watched Jordan and didn't know about Jordan and his relentless competitive nature and what he was capable of until they saw The Last Dance. And that was their first real exposure to Mike Jordan. And I'm like, are you serious? You didn't know Michael Jordan before The Last Dance? And you call yourself a real NBA superstar like that? But that's how this generation is. So I don't know if a lot of these players even understand what Sean Taylor was as an athlete, as a physical presence, as an intimidator. Like, he was one of a kind. Like, they don't make those anymore. So I don't even know if that's really going to resonate with there's some players in that locker room that absolutely know what Sean Taylor was. And a lot of those guys idolized him coming up in the game. But as these years, like we're talking about the 15th anniversary, there are guys in the locker room that are 24 years old. Like, they were 9 when he got killed. So that means in the prime of his career, they're 6, 7, 8 years old. They have no idea what Sean Taylor was doing, and they haven't gone back and watched either. So I don't know if the guys in the locker room are going to use it for motivation or not. I'm going to be honest with you. I doubt it. But we'll see. We'll see if they talk about it, if they bring it up, if somebody brings it up to them and what their response is. I don't think so, though, to be honest with you. Selena Guyton, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Selena writes, what's your thoughts on the whole NFC East making the playoffs? Looks like you guys are making a comeback. Eagle fan here, but we can appreciate the East. Absolutely. I've said it, that our disdain for one another, it burns bright and it burns deep, right? But at the same time, there is an appreciation for the division as a whole. Like, I always treat the NFC East like family, right? We can talk about each other. We can rib each other, talk shit about each other's teams. But don't you, as an outsider, like, I don't want to hear no Lions fans coming in here trying to talk about the division. You keep your ass out there, okay? Don't bring that shit in here. You ain't allowed to do that. Almost like a nickname. Hey, that's family. He can call me Juju, and that's not my nickname or anything, but I'm just giving you an example. Yeah, he can call me Juju. You don't know me like that. You don't get to call me Juju because you heard him call me Juju. All right? I'm Jeremy to you, okay? I'm not Juju to you. Same thing with the division, all right? We family. At the end of the day, we fight each other. We don't always get along, but at the end of the day, we still family. I can't stand any of my family members, but we still family. Blood is thicker than water. So as far as everybody making the playoffs, on one hand, I would love it. If you told me I could chase Seattle away and the Giants could stay and we can get in, hell yeah, I'd love it. All 4 teams in the first division to do it. I don't think the AFC East is going to do it. They've got all 4 teams over 500 right now. But when it's all said and done, one of those teams is exiting, if not 2 of them. I don't trust the Jets and I don't trust the Patriots. Neither one of those teams are very good. The Jets are really good defensively. And Breece Hall's injury really hurts them because he was so dynamic that he could allow Zach Wilson to stink and they could still be okay offensively. Now they've got solid running backs, but it ain't Breece Hall. That hurt. When they were playing their best football of the season, Breece Hall was a huge part of that. Anyway, I don't see the AFC East being able to do what the NFC East is capable of doing. But I think the Giants are the weak link. I think the Giants are the ones that ultimately we look up. And again, they're going to have an opportunity to say, hey, you ain't talking to me. They play us twice. They could easily say, hey, you got the wrong one, bro. It ain't us. It's you. And they could beat us both times, but at the end of the day, I would love to see all 4 teams make the playoffs. And it's very possible, but with the emergence of San Francisco, with the Seahawks not backing down, the likelihood is the NFC East gets 3, the NFC West gets 2, and then you get the other 2 division winners, right? That's the likelihood, is that the NFC East gets 2 wild cards, the NFC West gets 1, you get the 2 division winners, and then you get the other 2 division winners from the South and the North. So that's where we stand right now, but anything can happen. The 49ers, we're crowning them right now. Jimmy Garoppolo, right now, he's a prince. His ass could turn into a frog. Like, he's a prince right now. He's playing exceptional football, but at any moment, Jimmy's ass could turn into a frog again. And they could go down, they could go downhill, off the cliff. So we'll see what happens with the 49ers. I'm looking at the Giants right now, though. They look like the weakest link. Goodbye. So we'll see what happens. B-Hat, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, B-Hat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, B-Hat writes, I got us losing 3 or 4 more games this season. I think we lose to the Giants, Browns, 49ers, and end 9-8. I wish we had some more games early on. If you finish 9-8, you're not making the playoffs. Simple as that. It's going to take a bare minimum of 10 to get in the NFC. As I've mentioned already, 2 of the 3 wild cards already have 7 wins. They just need 2 more to get to 9. Okay? So 9 ain't going to cut it. 9 ain't going to cut it. You're going to need 10, because the likelihood is Dallas is going to win double figures. The Giants could. They probably won't, but we'll see. But they could again, they're already at 7, so they don't need to do much more to get there. The Seahawks are at 6. With the way they're playing and the way they're scheduled, I already showed you their schedule. They got some very winnable football games. They could get to 10. And so you see what it is. You know what you're up against. So there could be a situation where, the Seahawks start to fall apart, Giants start to fall apart, and all of a sudden 9-8, and we start going to tiebreakers. But the likelihood is the Giants, it's not going to be easy. And again, being that they play NFC East teams down the stretch, 5 of them, starting with Dallas here, and then Washington, and then Philadelphia, and then Washington again, they could easily lose 3 out of 4 straight. 5 if you count the Lions game that they just lost. They could easily go on a nice, nasty skid that puts them out of contention. They could go from 7-2 to 7-6. Just like that. Or 7-7. Just like that. If they're not careful. So we'll see. 9-8, though, I don't think gets you bonus football. That Browns game is huge, because that's one we can ill afford to lose. I don't give a shit that Deshaun Watson is back. You got to find a way to win that game, because the 49ers one, that's a steep challenge, right? That's a tough ask. If just looking at them right now, how they're playing, how they're built, that's a tough ask, but that's down the road. I don't even want to talk about the 49ers. I'm just concentrating on the Falcons right now. And then after the Falcons, the Giants. And then we get to the bye week. And at a bare minimum, you got to get to the bye week at 7-6. Can't be any worse than 7-6. If you really, truly want to make the playoffs, You need to get to the bye at 8-5 because that gives you the breathing room, the leeway to then say, hey, I just need to win 2 out of my final 4, and that should get me in at 10-6 or 10-7 rather. You go into the bye at 7-6. Now you need 3 out of your final 4. And while 3 out of your final 4 are at home, what does that mean? We got a better road record than we do home record. So what does that even mean? Anyway, just means you don't have to travel, but that hasn't boded well for the team this season. So we'll see. I wish we would have won more games early on, but I wish a lot of things. We didn't. We are what we are. We're 6-5. We got to find a way to get to 10. Bare minimum. All right. Thank you for that super chat, B-Hat. Wilfredo Elias, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Wilfredo, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Writes, if you could take 3 players from this franchise's last 15 years and put them on this team now, which 3 would it be? Hashtag HTTC, hashtag mob. From the last 15 years. I would put Trent Williams on this team. I would put Sean Taylor on this team, obviously. And I would probably take a corner. Maybe prime D'Angelo because of what we need. We need a corner, you know. Some of you, I mean, you could easily throw London Fletcher on his team. He'd do wonders for this football team, clearly, because of what he would mean at the linebacker position. But I think you can get by with Jamin Davis and a healthy Cole Holcomb. I'm nervous about corner in particular. But I think it's a toss-up between London Fletcher and probably D'Angelo Hall was our best corner in that 15-year span. 15 years would put you in that 2007 range. So that's outside of the Sean Springs and, you know, Carlos Rogers and some of those guys. But I think D-Hall was better than them here anyway. So probably say D'Angelo Hall. Just thinking about some of the guys and we really didn't have any dominant players other than Trent Williams. I mean, you could easily go Brandon Sheriff, Trent Williams, just because of the offensive line. And if you put those 2 guys back on this team now at the offensive line, what would that do for the run game and pass protection and all of that good stuff? Yeah, I think I would just stick with the ones that I had initially: Sean Taylor, Trent Williams, and a corner, probably D'Angelo Hall. But you could easily go London Fletcher. You know, you could easily go Brandon Sheriff. If we're talking 1 year, you could go 2012 Robert Griffin III. I don't want Robert Griffin III overall because he sucked after 2012. But if you're saying, hey, you can get 2012 Griff, sign me up for that shit. You know what I'm saying? So that's interesting. But you go with the dominant Trent Williams. You go with another player that changed ball games in Sean Taylor. And then you probably go with either London Fletcher, Brandon Sheriff, or a guy like D'Angelo Hall, I think. But because I don't think you need any help offensively. Like, we got enough talent at the skill. Like, if you want to go Santana, knock yourself out, but we got receivers. If you want to go Clinton Portis, knock yourself out, but we got running backs. You want to go Chris Cooley? I would listen to that. I would entertain that because we don't have a guy that is, you know, absolutely killing it at the tight end position. But I feel like we're fine, you know, there. You don't need to waste, you know, that on a guy like Chris Cooley necessarily. But we don't have a guy like Chris Cooley at tight end right now, putting up the numbers that he did But I think you can get by with what we have at tight end is what I'm saying. I think you would want to really put emphasis on positions that haven't been dominant. So anyway, I digress. So interesting question. Frankie, yo, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. Thanks for all the awesome content. Thank you for all the awesome support, Frankie. Yo, really do appreciate you and everyone that continues to support the Louie T Network and continues to help it grow and become what it's become. Again, none of this is possible without any of you. So thank you guys sincerely from the bottom of my heart. But, happy Thanksgiving to you and yours, And as I've said already, and I'll continue to say today and tomorrow, enjoy, cherish, don't take for granted these moments. Somebody that's here this year may not be here next year. You just don't know. So just enjoy it. It's sort of like what I keep telling y'all with these seasons. Like so many of y'all are ready to look forward to the future and you're talking draft and enjoy the ride. Enjoy this season. This roster will never be the same again. No two NFL rosters are alike. This team may not have, like Jonathan Allen said, I'm just enjoying my guy because I don't know if Daron Payne will be here next year. Like, I actually hearing him say that was like, yo, this shit is real. Daron could actually be gone. And a lot of you were trying to trade him. You were trying to trade him 2 years ago. Last year, you were trying to trade him. In every quarterback deal, you were throwing Daron Payne in there. And now you're like, oh, we got to sign Daron Payne, And now, I was one of those people that I didn't want to trade Daron. I was willing to trade him if that's what it was going to take to get a big-time quarterback, but I wasn't looking to trade him. I wasn't trying to offload him at every turn. But I also wasn't tripping over my own feet in a haste to give him a new deal either. I was like, yeah, let's get Terry done, and then we'll see what we can do after that. So now we've gotten to a point now where Daron is holding all the cards. He's in the prime position of saying, hey, I got you by the balls. I don't have to sign nothing. Similar to Brandon Sheriff. I don't got to sign a damn thing. And Jonathan Allen's right. He could not be here next year. The likelihood of that is slim and none because if they can't iron out a long-term deal, they're going to slap franchise tag on him. He's not going anywhere. They're in another franchise tag candidate on this team. So, and that's not a position where there's some guys making some good money. I don't want to make it seem like he wouldn't be making good money, but you could slap the tag on him and feel comfortable about it if you needed to try to work out a long-term deal. You just got to hope that you haven't gotten to the point of no return like you did with Brandon Sheriff, where he ain't looking to sign a long-term deal. He'll take your little 1 year, $18 million deal or whatever it is, the top 5 highest paid players at that position, which I got to think that numbers has to be every bit of $20 million or somewhere in that 18 to 20, $21 million range with all of the dudes that have gotten paid recently. He might take that 1 year deal and say, all right, do it again. And see if they dare do it again. And if they don't, he goes and gets a big money deal from somewhere else. But just enjoy the ride. Just enjoy the ride. Like so many of y'all want to talk about Heineke isn't this, he isn't that. We know he's not the starter long term. No one's arguing that. Just enjoy. We don't get a lot of these. We haven't been over 500 this late in the season since 2018. What are you complaining about? Just enjoy the damn ride. We don't know how it's going to end. This ride may be over the final week of the regular season. We may not get any bonus football. Whatever happens, just enjoy the ride. Same thing with Thanksgiving. Same thing with your family members. enjoy the time you have with them. Don't take it for granted. You don't know if this time next year, grandma's going to be here. Mom or dad's going to be here. Sister, brother's going to be here. You are here. We don't know any of that. Just live for the moment. Live in the present. Enjoy your company. Sorry to get deep on you. But anyway, I digress. True Eminem Mullinex, hashtag HTTC. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, hey, you missed the first one I sent. It was with the 4th month as mob. I already read one from you. I don't think I missed the first one. I read your first super chat. I think that was the duck sauce comment, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was you. I could be wrong, but I know I read one from you earlier. Benjamin Slate, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Benjamin Slade, writes, get back in. I only stayed in because I was going down in flames. I was too trashed and depressed to get out. Whatever the case may be, you stuck it out. That's the important part. You don't have to disclose why you stayed in the car. You just never got out. Good for you. And normally I'm that guy. And I take pride in being that guy. And I wasn't. So I don't want to all of a sudden take the spotlight off of those of you who never got out. Because at 1-4, it was pretty damn hard not to get out. And I'm telling you, after that Titans game, hell, after the loss to Dallas, I remember that's when a lot of people say, hey, Louie T, love you, but I'm getting out of the whip. I'm going to walk, man. And then I remember very vividly the Titans game. We had people leaving out of the trunk. Y'all remember that? All right. Like people coming out of places that we didn't even know they were in. Yo, I'm going to go ahead and bounce. Like on some bro man shit. Like, bro, did you just come out of my bathroom? Bro, man, I know. Hold up. I know that ain't my robe. Probably shouldn't have done that, huh? Like, this brother just came out of the trunk. we leaving out of the trunk. Somebody just came from up under the bottom of the car. Like, what are we doing right now? People were jumping out of places we didn't even know they were at. So, I don't know, man. I'm getting back in, though. I'm getting back in. Appreciate you, Benjamin. Appreciate you holding the kid down. Chevy Kitchen. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Chevy Kitchen writes, I see Washington Niners NFC Championship game. How sweet that would be. I wish that we haven't seen a Niners Washington NFC Championship game. I don't think we ever played them. That was always the anticipated matchup, and something would always go awry. One year we lost to the Bears in the playoffs, and they ended up beating the 49ers. I think that was 85. Or was that 84? I think they beat Washington in 84 when Joe Gibbs was going to pull out the shotgun, and somebody spilled the beans on that, because you remember Joe wasn't a shotgun dude back in those days. Was that 84 or 85? Can't remember. I know we thought we were going to have to play the 49ers in 87, and the Vikings beat them. And we was like, oh shit, we don't have to play the 49ers. And so we were able to play the Vikings. That'd be dope. But A lot of shit would have to happen for that to actually take place. A lot of shit. Like, we'd have to go through a lot to get there. But again, one game at a time. You're allowed to dream. I won't shit on your dream. Okay. I'm no dream killer. But one at a time. I just like to keep it one at a time. I allowed my brain to entertain the thought of us beating Minnesota when we were up 17-7, and look how that turned out. I can't even allow myself to wander about a victory, no less to the NFC Championship game. So I'll just keep it to the Atlanta Falcons this weekend. Thank you for the super chat, Chevy Kitchen. Who? These nuts. I mean, I could not say it, but I'm not. I'm gonna say your name, right? Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, "Ha, got him again. Too easy." I could not say the name, but I'm gonna say it. You didn't get anybody. Yeah. Let's see. Clapping Big Texas Cheeks. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, "I'm sorry, but I ain't wearing no damn black jersey. I'm 5-0 in my dirty burgundy B-Rob. Make sure y'all grab them tickets and make some noise Sunday." Is this another black uniform game? I didn't check the I'd probably have to refer to the schedule of the jerseys that they released before the season started. I have it somewhere in one of these files. I need to find it. Is this a black jersey game? I always remembered the Dallas game was the first time, and I always remember we were playing the Vikings. I don't remember this being a black jersey game, but it might be. And I remembered the first time we were going to break out the burgundies, because we were running from those. It seemed like they didn't have them or something. And that was week 5 against the Titans was the first time we wore the burgundy jersey. So I don't know. I gotta check that out. We haven't. I can tell you this: the black jerseys are starting to turn into. And, we do this is the shit we do as fans. We start making up stupid superstitions that really don't mean anything, but then they turn into a much bigger thing. Like when we used to wear the white jerseys. We pulled out the white jerseys. This is a big one. We about to win. And the absolute other end of the spectrum is, oh shit, they got on all burgundy. We about to lose. It looks dope, but we about to lose. We never went into all burgs. We ain't won in the blacks yet. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Anyway, I digress. Benjamin Slate, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy Ben writes, "I'm a lurker." That makes 2 of us. He says, "Every week, but I want to tell you that you do a marvelous job, and I love watching your material nearly nightly. Thank you." I appreciate that, Benjamin. I appreciate that, man. I'm a lurker as well, so I know the energy that you give off, and I love it. I appreciate you coming from the shadows out to, bless the kid and let me know, hey, I'm watching. I'm here, but you ain't gonna hear from me but so often. I can respect that. As a fellow lurker, I can definitely respect that. Appreciate you, Ben. Clapping Big Texas Cheeks. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, "All this Heine talk is making me excited." I don't know why. But I can tell you this. I feel as confident with him under center as I have any quarterback here in the last decade plus. I know that's not saying much. The only guy that I had more confidence in was that 1 year of Robert Griffin III in 2012. I never was this confident in Kirk because I didn't trust Kirk at the end of ball games. I think the Kirk is, not clutch narrative was overdone. I thought he had a number of fourth quarter comebacks. He had a number of big wins on the road in various different stops. He won some games in prime time. He outdueled Aaron Rodgers on a Sunday night. beat up the Raiders when they were good on a Monday night, in 2017, early in that season. He had some good games, so I think that whole narrative was overdone, but he did have that factor that when shit got tight, he didn't always play his best brand of ball, and he was prone to mistakes at crucial times, and that did exist. That wasn't a made up narrative. With Heineke, he might be ass for 3 quarters. It's almost like that Joe Flacco quality to him, where Joe could be horrible for 3 quarters, 3.5 quarters. But if you give Joe the football down 4 with 1 minute and 47 seconds left, you about to get your ass roasted, lambasted, filleted, laid to the side, red beans and gravy. I ain't too lazy. He's about to do you. I feel the same way about Heineke. That's why I was disappointed he didn't get a chance against the Vikings. Because I'm like, hey, we about to win this damn game. He just threw a back-breaking pick. He about to atone for that shit, just like he did against the Giants. At a bare minimum, we're getting in the field goal range to tie this shit up. I think he's going to win the game, though. To hell with that. Never got the shot. That's how confident I am in Heineke. Like, even when he's got to act like he did against the Eagles, it still was good enough to get us the win, right? He made winning plays. Threw a pick, a bad one. But he made winning plays. He always seems to do that. This year, last year's version would press, he'd make a mistake, and he would compound matters by making another mistake, trying to press and get it all back at once. And then you look up, and we got destroyed. He's not doing that this year. He makes a mistake. He's frustrated, beats himself up about it a little bit, and then gets back on the field, and he says, all right, let's try to get back, but not in one fell swoop. Bit by bit, piece by piece, we're going to get it back. Anyway, you might just be talking off the strength of getting lit. The Booty Creek Cheek Freak. I always got to say that slow because that's a lot of alliteration there. The Booty Creek Cheek Freak. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, love how we beat the Eagles. All I heard was face mask, but when they beat the Colts, no one mentions the missed face mask on Matt that won them the game. Look, it's always convenient when it fits a narrative, but when it doesn't, it's no longer convenient. I told them I didn't give a shit about your little face mask. I don't care about that. Yeah, they missed a call. Okay, so what? They miss calls all the time. They make bad calls all the time. I don't give a shit. I'm not giving the shit back. We beat your ass. That was a part of it, but we beat your ass. Deal with it. Right? We ran it 49 times. Deal with it. You turned it over 4 times. Deal with it. That was one of them. We won. Just like you just beat the Colts. Deal with it. They got to deal with it too. All right. Let's see. Oh, y'all having fun with that that one question that what's his face brought up. I got to go back and see who brought it up because that turned into a real conversation. Let's see. Who was it? Wilfredo Elias. Y'all having fun with that one. Y'all naming all kinds of randos. I see Anthony Armstrong in here. Y'all naming Bakari Rambo and all kinds of foolishness. Y'all funny as hell. Kaishan Jarrett, Malcolm Kelly. Y'all just naming all kinds of randos. Y'all are hilarious. Christopher McLaughlin. Chris. My guy, Chris. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Chris, who writes, happy we are winning. What do you think needs to be improved offensively to score consistently in the mid-20s per game to take that next step? Play calling, quarterback play, execution, or what else? It's a combination of all those things, Chris. I mean, I've talked about the play calling, but specifically situational awareness with Scott Turner has never been his strong suit. Even back in 2020, we were having these conversations when I thought he was at his best in 2020. He had to be. You know, it's funny because I was listening to Joe Buck and Troy Aikman talk about Kyle Shanahan. They had spoken to him, you know, as they always do before a game. They speak to the coach and some players, you know, that are prominent going into that game. And, they asked him about the creativity and what he was going to do with all of these weapons that he had. And he's like, creative? He's like, I was creative when I had Jeff Wilson at running back. You know, essentially saying I had to be. I don't got to be creative with Christian McCaffrey. Just give him the damn ball and get out of the way. I don't have to be creative with Deebo Samuel. Just get him the ball and get out of the way. Same with George Kittle. I don't have to be creative with guys like that. You want to simplify it. You don't want to make it overly complicated. You get creative when you have less talent, which is what we had in 2020, which is why I think Scott Turner was at his best, is you got to find ways to get Isaiah Wright open. You have to scheme ways to get Dontrell Inman open, okay? He doesn't have to do that now. Yeah, Jahan Dotson, you got Terry McLaurin, you got Curtis Samuel. You don't have to be super creative. You just expect these guys to win. I think he does need to be more aware of where we are in the field and what you can do at the 6-yard line with a Logan Thomas, a Cam Sims, a Cole Turner. Understand this is why you have these guys. So give them a chance. 2nd and goal. Instead of you running a stupid bootleg, just split these guys out wide, one-on-one, isolate them, and give them an opportunity. It's not rocket science. And no, it doesn't fit into your little play sheet and one of your calls that you want to get off. F that. You're down at the 5-yard line. Give one of those guys a chance. If you don't think you can run it in, throw it to one of these big guys. That's why you got them. So I do think play calling is a bit of that. Quarterback play, definitely. I mean, Heineke was hypercritical of himself against the Texans. He thought he could have made a better throw to Logan Thomas in the back corner of the end zone. That was a tough throw. There was a defender underneath. There was one in trail position. He would have to put that thing in there perfectly. That was a hard throw to make. But that's a throw he thinks he should have made. Heineke against the Eagles, the one possession we did not score a touchdown on. Antonio Gibson's open in the right flat, and Curtis Samuel is running right across his face over the middle on a shallow cross, wide open for a touchdown there. Make a decision quickly. I get it. There's pressure on the play. You didn't have enough time to survey the field. However, you didn't need a ton of time. Gibson's immediately open, and right in front of your face, Curtis Samuel is coming open. Make a decision. Pick one, get rid of it. Just like in the game on Sunday, the Texans brought an all-out pressure, right? Heineke knew he was going to get hit. The thing was, they did protect him. They did pick it up, but he still got hammered. But what did he do? He found Logan Thomas on a shallow cross, hit him, and Logan turned on the burners, didn't even know he could do this, turned the corner on that defender, and got a big gain when they came with about a 7-man pressure. He could have done the same thing against the Eagles. Just get rid of it. You know where the guys are. You know where your outlet is. Get rid of it. So it is a little bit of quarterback play. Execution, definitely. You get opportunities you can't afford to miss, right? You get a guy open, you scheme it up perfectly, you got to hit it. They block a play well, you got to find a way to maximize that run. I think, though, combining all of those, and I would also add in consistency. Consistency. We got playmakers, and I think consistently you have to find ways to get guys involved so that teams aren't necessarily keying in on what you're trying to do. Like, we got in the red zone against Jacksonville in week 1, and we ran an RPO touchdown pass to Jahan Dotson. Have we seen that again? It doesn't have to go to Jahan. It can go to Curtis. It can go to Terry. Have we seen that play again from the slot where you fake the run and it looks like everybody's run blocking, and then you throw it to Jahan? You just raise up and throw it to Jahan real quick. Have we seen that since week 1? I think we might have done it again in week 2 to Detroit. But have we seen that since early in the season? No, we haven't. Why? Shit worked every time we did it. Why aren't we seeing that again? Like, this is the stuff I'm talking about. Like, you don't have to go and reinvent the wheel and go all the way around the world in 180 days to come back and realize, damn, that shit worked in week 1. That shit worked in week 2. Why haven't we done it again? I don't know why. Stop asking. I think it's just the consistency that bothers me. You're having success running the football on the Eagles. They haven't stopped us from running the ball into the end zone yet. Gibson just rips off a 3-yard run from the 6 to the 3. He's cut the distance that you need to get into the end zone in half on first down. Why are we throwing on second down? Why are we throwing on third down? Remind me of this again. Why are we doing this when we've already scored 2 rushing touchdowns in the game? And they haven't shown signs of stopping us? Help me understand why we're doing this. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Consistency. So it's a little bit of all of that stuff. Thank you for the super chat, Chris. Chauncey Davis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Chauncey Davis, OG, triple OG. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Lou, Chauncey, the phase you're looking for, he says, the phase you're looking for is relax and enjoy. The phrase you meant, the phrase that I'm looking for is relax and enjoy. I don't know if as a fan base we can relax. I don't know if that's something that is in our DNA. I mean, we had fans talking about the game was boring on Sunday. They tried to give us an opportunity to relax, and that wasn't good enough for some of these fans. Oh, this shit is boring. Like, seriously? Normally, we're literally on the edge of our seat, heart beating out of our chest. It's hard to relax. I kind of want to just stick with the enjoy. Just enjoy the ride, whatever it is. We know twists and turns, all right? Ups and downs. We know it's not going to be a smooth ride. We knew that when Carson Wentz came on board. We knew that when Heineke entered the lineup, there was going to be nothing smooth about this ride. You know, growing up, there was nothing better than putting on the rollerblades and riding over some freshly paved cement. You know, that black, dark black, fresh, smooth pavement. Oh, man, it was like heaven. The worst was that old beat up road where you're riding and you feel every vibration in your knee and you just like this when you ride in. Those were the worst. That's what this ride is. All right. It's going to be bumpy. You'll have some moments where it's smooth, right? And it's like, this is nice. But it's going to be more of those, and it's in the same game. It's not like a weak thing where this Texans game was pretty much start to finish smooth. You were never really in doubt after the pick six. You kind of got a chance to relax a bit, and the defense dominated in such fashion that we were up 20-0 at halftime. You were fine. We were fine. But for the most part, every game, there are going to be patches and stretches of the game where you're rolling over some of that rough terrain, and you just got to get past that. Just enjoy it. All of it. Enjoy all of it. It's all a part of the journey. Swaggy P, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Swaggy P, writes, Happy Thanksgiving to you, Lou. Can't wait for my low vibrational plate while I watch the Cowbums and Little Giants beat each other up. I always love Thanksgiving, especially when we don't play, because now I'm allowed to be gluttonous. Okay, because we're unlike most families on Thanksgiving. I can't speak to when you eat. We eat early as hell because we have this ridiculous tradition, and nobody actually made it a thing. It's just something that we all do in anticipation of eating. We don't actually eat breakfast, and we don't eat anything leading up to Thanksgiving dinner. So by the time 12:30, 1 o'clock rolls around, and that opening kickoff of the first game, by the time halftime hits of that first game, that Lions game, we're eating Thanksgiving dinner. It's usually 1:30 to 2:30 at the latest. We're eating already. Most people are like, damn, y'all ate already? You damn right. I'm starving. My damn stomach is touching my back. And people start getting ornery in our house. People start fussing about shit they shouldn't be fussing about because they're hungry. They become hangry, right? So by the time that Cowboys game rolls around, I'm ready for some dessert or some seconds or something. But when we're playing them, now I can't eat. So it pisses me off. Now that we're not playing them, it's either another plate or I'm digging into the dessert I made and devouring that. So I get to be gluttonous on Thursday. I love it. Somebody said, Idi Jamo. Wow. That is crazy. Idi Jamo. I ain't seen that name in ages. Hey, y'all are stupid. I swear. True Eminem Mullinex. Hashtag HTTC. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Writes. It was I think we're going to finish 10-7, 11-6. That's the first one. Oh, yeah, I didn't see that one. I didn't see that one at all. So I apologize for that. 11-6 would be great because that's right in the neighborhood of what I predicted before the season started. My prediction was 12-5, but I told y'all, I said, really? 11-6 is the sweet spot. I said that a million times, but I was like, I'm sticking with 12-5 because I said 12-5, but really 11-6 is the sweet spot. That'd be awesome. But you're asking this team to essentially finish, like, again, I did this yesterday. I don't want to do this again today, but because it's pertinent, I'm going to bring it up. Ron Rivera started 1-3 in his third year in Carolina. They went and won 11 out of their final 12, finished the season 12-4. Clearly, we're set up to do that, but I don't think we're going to do that. That team had Cam Newton. That team had Luke Kuechly. That team had Thomas Davis. That team had Steve Smith. That team had a lot of dogs. Not to say that we don't, but the most important one was Cam Newton, a young Cam Newton coming into his own. All right. That's not what this team is. However, we've won 5 out of 6. What's stopping us from winning our final, let's say, what's stopping us from winning our final 10 out of 12, which would get you to 11-6 after starting 1-4. So highly unlikely, because that would mean you were going to win 5 out of your final 6 after already just winning 5 out of your last 6. You were to finish the season up winning 5 out of your final 6 again, which would put you at 10 out of your last 12. It's not impossible, but it's highly unlikely. But we'll see. One at a time. One at a time. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. Clapping Big Texas Cheeks. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, do you remember Tell 'em Wilma? Nope. Don't know who that is. And I'm not even going to even pursue that with you. Don't know who that is. All right. Y'all just naming all kinds of dudes. Jeremiah Stafford. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Jeremiah writes, as a fellow lurker, okay, we coming out. We coming out to play tonight. I second Benjamin Slade's statement. And for my top three for this team, I would go Sean Taylor, Prime D Hall, and Prime Brandon Banks. You threw that last one in there as a shot at our guy Dax Milne. That's so unnecessary. Look, my thing with Dax, why I protect Dax, is because Dax didn't do anything wrong. He didn't ask to be the punt returner. They said, hey, didn't you return punts at BYU? He's like, yeah, I only did it twice. Good. We can put you back there. Let's see what you got. But, coach, I only did it. Let's see what you got. It's a way to make the team. It's a way to stay on the roster, be, relevant. And he's actually gotten better. And he hasn't dropped anything. And so, again, let me knock on a little bit of wood. Keep that going. But I just don't understand the Dax Milne hate. Early in the season, he was terrible, but he never did anything that would make you upset. He just wasn't adding to, he didn't bring any value necessarily from a yardage standpoint. He's gotten better in that department. He had some good returns the last 2 or 3 weeks. So, Jeremiah, thank you for the super chat. And as a lurker, thank you for coming from behind the shadows. Again, don't have to do it often, but don't be a stranger. That's all I'm saying. Brandon Banks. What's crazy is I think his legend has grown to the point where people were overrating Brandon Banks. Like he had 3 returns for touchdowns for this team or something. Did he even have one? He might have had one, right? He was exciting. He would run backwards and still gain, 11 yards on a punt return, but he ran for like 30 yards, but only gained 11. But I don't think he had a lot of returns for touchdowns. He was exciting, and it was can't miss football anytime he would get it. But dude was like 152 pounds soaking wet. He really didn't want to get hit. And I don't think he was as dynamic as, everyone makes him out to be. He was exciting, but I don't think he only scored like 1 touchdown. I could be wrong, and he might have scored 4. Doubt it. Seriously. I think he only scored 1. Anyway, I digress. HB Blades. Adam Carricker. Oh my gosh. Lace C-Strunk. Oh my God. Now some of y'all are actually pulling up rosters and naming dudes. Some of y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. EJ Biggers. Joe, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Joe writes, rank Mason Foster, Perry Riley, and John Bostic. Mason Foster is the best of that group. Then John Bostic, and then Perry Riley. Perry Riley was horrible. Wrong way Riley, we used to call him. John Bostic, while he isn't a playmaker, at least he knows where to go. John knows what to do and where to go. He just doesn't get there because he hesitates. Mason Foster made plays. I still remember the interception he had against the Rams, and we didn't know at the time this was Sean McVay's first year in LA, and that was a week 2 game. We had lost in week 1. We go to LA in week 2, and Mason Foster makes a game-clinching interception, and we win that football game. But we didn't know that the Rams would go on to win their division, and that was the beginning of them being really good for a very long time under Sean McVay. But we beat them that first year. And Mason Foster had the game-clinching interception. I thought Mason Foster, he became the poster child for what was just not good defense. It was an easy thing to blame him. He became an easy target and scapegoat. But defensively, we weren't very good, period. None of Jay's teams featured strong defenses. None of them featured great defensive coordinators, but there was never really any talent on those defenses, to be honest with you. Foster 1, Bostic 2, Riley 3. Eddie Clayton says, ass, and shit. Hey, don't do those boys like that, man. Don't do them like that. Ben Hanniger, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Ben, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, I had 2 people tell me nice hat in the last 2 days. Told them thanks, but been wearing this hat since game 1. It's amazing what winning does, right? All of a sudden now they notice the hat. Okay, you've been wearing the hat, never said anything. They've seen you. Maybe they didn't pay attention, didn't notice you. Now all of a sudden, nice hat. Winning changes things. It's a great deodorant. Makes people take notice and pay attention to shit that they were overlooking before. Again, I find it interesting, and I talked about this, at the beginning of the show. Find it interesting, some of the takes that I'm hearing about this team, but I don't get wrapped up into that stuff. It's interesting. It's not important, but all of a sudden now you're 6-5. You can't ignore us. We should have beat the Vikings. We should be 7-4. You can't ignore us. We're over 500. You can't just gloss over us anymore. It was easier when we were 4-5, when we were 2-4. It was easy to mention the NFC East and not even give any time or attention or a mention to the Commanders. Can't do that anymore. We're a part of the mix. All right. Wow. Did I see a Semi Cobbs? Oh, man. All right. Suplexes are us. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, hey, Lou, did you watch the suplex replay? JSW got in on that too, LOL. Question, which NFC defenses you got ahead of us? I did go back and watch. Brian Baldinger, I'm pretty sure some of you have seen this. He puts out those clips every week, and he did one. And I think he really has taken a strong liking to this Washington team, the defense in particular. But he loved it. He ate that shit up. He loved the power bomb. He called it a suplex. That shit was a power bomb. Wasn't a suplex. That was a power bomb. Full-blown power bomb. But he was talking about WWE, and he's like, you need guys on your team, which is what I told you guys. You need guys on your team. Like, I understand you don't want the 15-yard penalty, but he's nasty. You need nasty on your team, especially inside. Like, a lot of people don't. It ain't nothing nice about football. Ain't nothing nice about this shit. Mean guys win in this league. Nasty wins. You need guys like John Ridgeway. You just got to reel them in a bit. That's all. I saw it again, and yes, James Smith-Williams did. There were several guys that were, there and present for the power bomb, and some that had a little bit of a hand in lifting him up. But when he let him go, he was dolo. That was a solo power bomb. At that point, they were like, whoa. You're going too far now. I don't want any parts of this because I don't want an envelope in my locker on Wednesday. So what defenses do I have ahead of us in the NFC? San Francisco's defense is better than ours. That's about it, to be honest with you. Tampa Bay's got a really solid unit, but they're hit or miss sometimes. They don't get as much pressure on the quarterback as we do without Shaq Barrett. Dallas, this defense can be run all over. They got crazy pass rush, though, but you can run on Dallas's defense. I've always thought we were better than Philadelphia's defense. Never was afraid of the Eagles' defense. They got a lot more talent than we do, but I told you they're poorly coached. I've said this from day one. Jonathan Gannon is a joke as a defensive coordinator, and I've been hearing a lot of Eagles fans say that of late, but I just think it's the 49ers. I think our defense is the second best in the conference. Now, again, it depends on who you ask. Dallas's pass rush changes things, man. Changes things. That relentless pressure that they can apply, that's hard to overcome, man. If they get it going, if they get a lead and now you got to throw and you got to abandon the run, that shit is scary, man. It's dangerous. You can't allow yourself to fall behind against Dallas because they turn those dogs loose. You ain't going to make it. You just ain't going to make it. But if you could run the football on their ass, take those pass rushers and turn them into run defenders, you got a chance to really do those boys in. So I think we're better than them overall, but pass rush wise, man, they're ferocious. Honestly, the best defense is San Francisco, Washington, Tampa Bay, Dallas. Green Bay was in that mix, but they're starting to fall off and they got a lot of injuries now. But they were also a really solid defense. The Giants are a solid defensive group, but they've started to incur some injuries, and I think it's starting to hurt them. But they got a really good group defensively when healthy. Don't want to leave them out. Eagles are a good defense as well. The Panthers defensively, they're not bad. I think they're missing a dog or two, but they're not bad, man. But you asked me the best, who's better than us? San Francisco is just, to me, just the 49ers. Suplexes are us. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes? Ron looking happy as F. Gotta say, last two drafts looking better and better. Told you before the season I like Mayhew. You spit in my face and laughed. I may have done that. And if I did, I apologize. I will say this. Nothing is etched in stone. Like, just because these last two drafts are starting to look good doesn't mean Martin Mayhew is the end-all, be-all. But I can't say that I didn't, but I don't think I would have spit in your face. I just know his track record precedes him, and it wasn't a good one. And so I just needed to see it first. I mean, I don't know if that's what you call spitting in your face, but I can be dismissive. I do know that. I'm very self-aware. I can be very dismissive at times. So I might have been very dismissive when you brought him up, and I'm like, Martin Mayhew, I don't know. I don't really think this guy's all of that. He was in, Detroit. He drafted Matthew Stafford, and he wants to bring that up. I'm like, bro, you had the number 1 overall pick. Just don't F it up. That's all you had to do, essentially. So I don't know. If I did, I was probably dismissive. Mistakes were made. But these last two drafts are rounding into shape. Are they great? That remains to be seen. Time will tell, but the early returns are looking good so far. As Jamin Davis starts to round into form and shape, Benjamin St. Juste starts to really turn the corner. Derek Forrest in that same draft class really starting to assert himself. Can't talk about him, but they traded up to get him. Cam Cheeseman is starting to play at a high level. You never want to talk about the snapper. If he's doing his job, you never mention him. He's doing his job. So, Dax Milne is a 7th round pick. He's contributing. So, absolutely. Suplexes are us. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes? Danny Warfel. Y'all don't know about him. First of all, Wilfredo said the last 15 years. Y'all just naming dudes, random dudes from 40 years ago, 35 years ago. I seen an Ernest Biner. Like, that's 1989, 90, 91. Like, you naming Ernest Biner. Like, you going super far back. You going back to the last time we won a Super Bowl. You talking about Ernest Biner. Seeing all kinds of names from y'all. Dudes that played before that 15, year window he gave out. Trump candidate. And he was fast as shit on Madden, though. I'll tell you that. I used to play with Washington, or try to at least. We were so garbage back then. But Trump candidate was fast as a mother. I think his speed was like 97. He was trash as hell. Let him hit a corner, though. You ain't catching him. All right. Suplexes are us. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Suplexes are us writes, you totally spit in my face. Hawked a big old loogie in my face. Took me to Suplex City. Sent me all the way back to 05. A lot of work, but I'm back. Again, if I made you feel that way, mistakes were made. I can be dismissive, especially if I think you spewing nonsense. I quickly will shut it down and keep it pushing. But I don't think I did all of that. I think you're putting some extra sauce on it. Okay. I think you're putting a lot of sauce on it, as a matter of fact, but nonetheless. Chevy Kitchen, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, who writes, bring on Street Scores. He's a Washington content YouTuber like you. I've had him on the channel before, and we just did a roundtable on Rio's channel, where it was Ed, Rico, myself, and Rio. So I've had him on the channel before, and we always collab, even if it's not on my channel. That's a name from the past, Chris Dishman. Although I thought he spelt his without the H, but I'm not sure about that. Suplexes are us. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, who writes, love that John Allen speech, Lou. Team got a vibe. We talked about that yesterday on the show. That was a big, talking point. A lot of fans, including myself, were really feeling that vibe after the game, because you did what you were supposed to do, and sometimes you don't get credit for doing the things that you're supposed to do. Like, as a man, you're supposed to take care of your kids. I don't need credit for doing that. But in the NFL, because anything can happen, you do get credit for beating teams you're supposed to beat. Take care of business. Don't allow a team that has no business beating you to beat you. And you'd like to do it in a fashion that allows you to win comfortably. We did that. However, we should have won more comfortably. We should have been more dominant. I said this already. The score did not reflect how dominant Washington was in the game. I have a problem with that. I want to make sure that a person that didn't watch a single second of the game knows, oh, they got their doors blown off. They got their asses kicked in that game. 23-10 doesn't say that. 30-3 does. That's how that game should have gone. Should have been 30-3. Should have been 33-10. That screams, oh, they got their asses whooped. 23-10 doesn't. And after the game, Ron made mention, and then Jonathan made mention of the fact that, hey, we got a long way to go. Defense didn't finish this game the way that they should have. As we talked about, 4-4 on fourth downs, which led to the 10 points that they scored. Defense could have been better to finish up. Offense left points out on the field. When you kick a 24-yard field goal and then wash that down with a 25-yard field goal, I'm pissed. That means, respectively, You got to the 7-yard line and you got to the 8-yard line, or the 6, excuse me. That's bullshit. And you couldn't get it in. And I think one of those, no, I don't think I think I'm mixing up games. That's the Eagles game where he took the sack in the red zone. Doesn't matter. Bottom line is, they weren't satisfied with just winning and beating the Texans. They knew that they needed to clean up some things and they need to be better. And as John Allen said, it shouldn't take a loss to correct mistakes, to refocus us. It shouldn't take a loss to refocus us. So I love it. All right. Suplexes are us. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Suplexes are us, writes. Bro, don't want to get too ahead, but is this it? Are we finally building up? Please, Commanders, don't F me over again. I have hope for the future. Look, I already told you, just enjoy the ride. I can't tell you what this means moving forward. How many times did we win in a season and we thought this was the beginning of something big? I could go back to 2012. Who didn't think that season with Robert Griffin III wasn't the beginning of us absolutely wrecking shop in the NFC East with the dominant quarterback that nobody has an answer for? Who didn't think that was the beginning of that? Even with the injury, it wasn't until we started hearing things and then we got the all-in for week 1 where I was like, uh-oh. This shit doesn't feel right. But in the midst of that 2012 season, who didn't think that, we got it. We figured it out. We finally got us a guy. Who didn't think that? Who didn't think after 2015 you like that, win the division, home playoff game? Who didn't think that 2016 season wasn't, we about to turn the corner? Pierre and Deshaun and Jordan and Jamison Crowder and Chris Thompson. Can't stop this offense. Can't stop this offense. Who didn't think that 2016 wasn't going to be a huge year? We missed the playoffs. Now, we should have made them, but we didn't. I mean, I could go on and on. So, I don't know if this is the turning of the corner or not. I'm just going to enjoy the ride, see where it takes us. Omar Stoutmeyer. That was a good one. Barrett Downing, my guy BD. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, love that Ridgeway suplex. We need an enforcer. We need someone with a mean streak every now and then. That dude is definitely wired differently. That's for sure. He's definitely one taco short of a combination plate. I'll just say that. He's definitely what you're looking for. If you're looking for a guy that's a little bit unhinged, John Ridgeway is your man. He's the man for the job. So clearly, we got one of those dudes. Jamal Hamlin, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Jamal, writes, Lou, I saw the stream with the Super Friends. I really enjoyed it. I think Rio needs to be Ron's hostile interpreter. LOL. I don't know why you say that. Rio's a funny dude, though. That's the one thing I love about Rio is he is hilarious. I guess that's similar to I think Dave Chappelle had when he was acting like the president, or was that Key and Peele that had an interpreter? I think it was Key and Peele. They had the interpreter for the president. Guess you're talking about something like that. Anyway, I digress. Suplexes are us. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, I don't know, Lou. This feels different. This team is different. I agree with that. I I think this is different. I think this team feels different, but I felt like other teams, this could be different. I never felt like this though. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I thought another team. I haven't felt like this since probably '05, where I'm like, hey, we can actually do some damage here. This doesn't have to end. I thought 2012 was different too, though. So I shouldn't say '05. I think 2012 was the last time. Because I thought we, like, if Robert stayed healthy, I thought we were going to the NFC Championship game. I knew we were going to beat we scored on the first 2 possessions with ease, may I add. And then he tweaks the knee on that final touchdown toss when it's 14-0. And it was all downhill from there. They weren't going to beat us. If he's healthy, we were going to smoke Seattle. I really felt confident that next week we would go to Atlanta and beat them because we played them in the regular season. Robert got a concussion. They beat us. Kirk came in, threw a pick late. They beat us. But I felt like we could go to the Georgia Dome and win. I didn't think we could beat San Francisco. Their defense was on another level. Colin Kaepernick was playing at a high level. I didn't think we would beat them. That's where I felt like the run was going to stop. But that was the last time I felt like we could do damage in the postseason. I feel like we could do a little something this year. All right. Metaphor. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Metaphor writes. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Metaphor writes. Hey, Mob, let's get a dub. By the way, if I may advertise, of course. If you're talking about that shirt, you're damn right. If you got it, if you figured it out, absolutely. Knock yourself out. Suplexes are us. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Suplexes are us writes. Seeing Ron's plan grow, man. I don't know. I gotta chill. It's so good to hear that phrase again. For a while there, nobody was talking about Ron's plan. And it frustrated me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, because I was all in on that, and clearly, I felt some type of way about Ron coming here because I didn't think we could get a guy of his stature with all the BS that goes on here, that had gone on here. And Ron chose us. And I said, he didn't have to do that. He did that. And at one point it felt like, well, it doesn't matter that he did that. He had, one thing that he needed to do in here, and he did it, change the culture, but it didn't come with winning. But here we are. Young team starting to get it. Light bulbs finally come on. And now the winning is starting to come about. And you feel like he changed the culture. He helped weather the storm. We may be getting rid of Dan Snyder here shortly. He was able to help navigate us through that. A lot of foolishness has been coming out the last 2 years, and some right before games, like 2 or 3 times this season, right before a game. Like the Bears one was ridiculous. That was the day of the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had to remind everybody, hey, we do play a game today, just so y'all know. There is actually a game later on tonight. So he's had to deal with a lot of shit, man. And he's got this team believing. So that means something. So it's good to hear. Wow. HB Blades. Horatio Benedict Blades. Ay, ay, ay. Suplexes are us. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, those teams were historically bad defensively. We were allowed to play defense in those days. That whole Jay Gruden era, the defense was just there. Just there. DC Dude, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. DC Dude writes, Could you imagine how good we'd be if we actually had a quarterback? I mean, a lot of teams could say that, though. Like, we're not the only ones. A lot of teams could say, could you imagine how good we'd be if we had, and you could just fill in the blank with a quarterback that is of an upper echelon? Sure. We'd be a lot better if we had, premium quarterback play. But again, 2/3 of the league doesn't. Probably 3/4 of the league doesn't. And they could say the same. And of that 3/4, a third or two of that group could probably say the same thing. If we had a quarterback, boy, we could be nasty. Jamal Hamlin, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Jamal, writes, Lou, we need to see more Cam Sims in the red zone. I agree. Triple OG has been clamoring for that. And yeah, I don't disagree. After he went and put his nutsack on Trayvon Diggs' helmet last year in Canada, I was like, okay, he needs more opportunities. He can go get the football, because I hadn't seen him really high point the football. I hadn't seen him go up and get one like that to give me the confidence that he was capable. When he did that to Trayvon Diggs, I was like, all right, give him an opportunity now. He earned it. He's shown the ability to do it. Give him some opportunities. Suplexes are us. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, this team's D is tough. Haven't seen that since 05. You and 05, boy. This team's defense, I think they've got a really hard exterior. And I do think they're built a little bit different. They're coming together. They're believing in each other. And they're playing the kind of football that, again, as I mentioned, gives you a chance to win just about every single week. So, yeah, it's good stuff from this defense. Anyway, I digress. That is going to do it for me, your man Louie T. I thank you guys for joining me. Shout out to Wilfredo Elias for starting a epidemic in the comment section. That was a great question, and you see what you've done. So pat yourself on the back. You deserve a golf clap. Nonetheless, I'll be back tomorrow with another episode of CNN, and I'll give away the tickets. So if you're interested, you know what to do. Use the hashtag DBF, Dirty Bird Feast. DBF, hashtag DBF. If you're interested in the tickets, we will give them away tomorrow. And again, I'll elaborate on this tomorrow, but if you win, please get at me as soon as possible, because once we hit Thanksgiving and I go Black Friday, the last thing I'm thinking about is getting you the tickets. I'd hate to have a situation that I had earlier this year where I literally got to do the tickets like 10 in the morning the day of. He still went to the game, had a great time, but that's not ideal. If you win, hit me ASAP so I can get you these tickets before the festivities kick off, please. Anyway, I digress. Y'all get out of here. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I'm going to chop it up with y'all tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be an odd show. I'm still kind of trying to figure out how I want to do the rest of the week. I want to cram in a bunch of stuff, but there's so many unknown variables. Tomorrow will be the first time we get a look at the injury report, and things could change from Wednesday to Friday. So anyway, I digress. Y'all get out of here. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and I will see you tomorrow for Commanders Nightly News. Have a good one.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap. Hand to Riggins. Good hold. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 30.